Every night, millions of people lie awake not because they're not tired, but because their minds won't stop spinning. Thoughts race, regrets echo, anxiety whispers, and instead of sleeping peacefully, we silently suffer. But what if the problem isn't that you're broken? What if you've just never been taught how to let go? In this video, you won't find surface-level tips. You'll discover deep and powerful Buddhist lessons practices rooted in thousands of years of wisdom that will help you release the noise in your mind, reconnect with your breath, and fall into the kind of sleep that doesn't just heal your body, but restores your soul. This isn't just about sleep. This is about waking up happier, because when the mind rests, the heart heals and life feels lighter. So if you're tired of overthinking, tired of feeling restless, and ready to find real peace, stay with me. Your healing begins now. 1. Release the day it no longer exists. Every evening, our bodies grow tired. We lie down, we dim the lights, we prepare for sleep. But even as we rest physically, our minds often refuse to quiet down. They continue spinning like wheels that won't stop turning. We replay conversations, we question decisions, we worry about what didn't get done and what might go wrong tomorrow. It's as if the day refuses to end, even though the sun has long since set. And yet, Buddhism teaches something simple and profound. Peace does not begin in the muscles or bones, it begins in the mind. More specifically, it begins in letting go. The truth is, today is already gone. It's no longer real, it exists only as a collection of thoughts in your memory. Whatever you said or didn't say, whatever went wrong or went well, it's already finished. You can't change it, you can't hold it. Trying to do so is like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. It slips right through and leaves you exhausted. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering comes not from what has happened, but from our refusal to accept that it's already over. We keep gripping onto the past, as if we could fix it by thinking harder about it. But in reality, we only make ourselves suffer more. So tonight, before you try to fall asleep, gently invite yourself to release the day. You don't need to fight it or forget it, just release it. Imagine the day as a long scroll of paper, slowly rolling up in front of your eyes. On that scroll is every conversation, every task, every moment of stress or joy. Watch as it slowly winds itself into a small, quiet roll. And now, in your mind, place it on a shelf. It's not destroyed, it's not erased, it's just put away. This is not denial, it is wisdom. You don't need to carry every detail of your day into your rest. You don't need to keep reviewing it to make it make sense. The day has already served its purpose. Whether you learned something, made a mistake, or simply survived, that is enough. You've done what you could, and now it's time to allow your soul to breathe without the weight of time pulling at it. Think of how much lighter your heart would feel if you weren't dragging hours behind you. Think of how gently you could drift into sleep if you gave yourself permission to put the day down, like setting a heavy bag on the floor after carrying it all day. Your shoulders soften, your breath deepens, your mind begins to loosen its grip. Let the day go, not because it didn't matter, but because it's already over. What's real now is the stillness around you, the breath in your lungs, the softness beneath your body. This is the only moment that truly exists. Let your soul rest in it, fully and freely, and in doing so, discover how peaceful sleep can truly be. 2. Your thoughts are not the truth, they are passing clouds. Sometimes, when your head touches the pillow, your body might be still, but your mind becomes louder than ever. Thoughts come rushing in all at once. They remind you of something you said years ago, something you didn't do today, or something you fear might happen tomorrow. They spin like a carousel that never stops. One thought pulls in another. Suddenly, you're not lying in bed anymore, you're inside your head, trapped in a mental storm. But Buddhism offers us a deeply freeing truth. You are not your thoughts. This might sound simple, but it changes everything. Most people believe that every thought they have is important, urgent, or true. But thoughts are not facts. They are just mental events-deny flickers of energy passing through the mind, like clouds drifting across the sky. Some are dark and heavy, some are light and fast. But no matter what shape they take, they all have one thing in common: they pass. The Buddha taught that the mind, when left unmanaged, creates suffering not because of the world around us, but because of the way we cling to every thought as if it defines us. But here's the truth. A thought is not a command. A thought is not a prophecy. A thought is not always reality. It's just a cloud. It forms, it floats, it fades. What makes a thought powerful is not the thought itself, but our reaction to it. So tonight, as thoughts begin to rise, try not to fight them or fear them. Instead, observe them with kindness and distance. Imagine you are lying beneath a vast, open sky. Thoughts float above you like clouds. Some carry worry, some carry memory, some carry fear. But you don't need to chase them. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to get rid of them. You are simply the sky, calm, endless, undisturbed by the passing weather. If a difficult thought appears, whisper gently to yourself, "This is just a thought. It's not who I am." Let it float by, watch it drift. And when the next thought comes, do the same. You are not here to control every thought. You are here to detach from the need to believe them all. In Buddhist practice, this is the beginning of true mindfulness, seeing clearly, without judgment, without clinging. With time, you'll notice something powerful. The less you engage with your thoughts, the quieter they become. Not because they're gone, but because they no longer own you. Tonight, you don't need to fix your mind. You don't need to be thought-free. You just need to see clearly. You are not your mind. You are the awareness behind it. And that awareness is always peaceful, always still, always free. Let the clouds pass. Let your breath deepen, and let the sky within you stretch wide and open as you gently fall into rest. 3. Suffering grows where gratitude is absent. It's a quiet truth, often overlooked. The more we focus on what we lack, the more restless we become. When the lights go out and the distractions fade, many of us find ourselves caught in a loop of dissatisfaction. We lie in bed thinking about what we didn't achieve today, what's missing from our lives, what others have that we don't. Our hearts begin to feel hollow, our thoughts heavier. But Buddhism gently reminds us, suffering doesn't grow from the outside, it grows in the spaces where gratitude has been forgotten. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you when something nice happens. It's a spiritual practice, a conscious shift of attention. It means turning your awareness away from what's missing and gently pointing it toward what is already here. This shift doesn't require you to lie to yourself or pretend everything is perfect. It simply asks you to notice what's been quietly blessing you all along. Right now, as you lie in bed, your heart is still beating without you asking it to. Your lungs are still filling with air. Your body, though tired, has carried you through another full day of life. That is not small. That is not ordinary. That is sacred. But we rarely pause to honor these silent gifts. In Buddhist monasteries, monks begin and end their days with mindfulness and reflection, not on achievements, but on the simple miracle of being alive. They give thanks for the food, the breath, the stillness, the opportunity to live in the present moment. This practice isn't only about politeness, it's a powerful way to keep the mind from falling into despair. When you acknowledge even the tiniest blessings, you water the seeds of joy inside you. And those seeds, over time, become strong enough to carry you through your darkest nights. Tonight, take a moment to reflect, not on what was missing from your day, but on what was present. Think of one act of kindness, no matter how small. One moment of quiet, of laughter, of relief. Even a hot meal, a peaceful sky, or the sound of your own laughter. These are not background noise. These are the colors of your life. The more you see them, the more your life becomes rich, meaningful, and full. When we live without gratitude, our minds become desertry, empty, craving something more. But when we live with gratitude, even a simple glass of water becomes a miracle. Gratitude is not the result of happiness, it is the root of it. And the more you practice it, the more you begin to sleep peacefully, not because everything is perfect, but because you finally remember that so much is already enough. So tonight, before you close your eyes, whisper a quiet thank you, not to anyone in particular, just to life, to the breath in your lungs, to the day you just survived, to the stillness now wrapping around you like a warm blanket. Say thank you not because life is flawless, but because even in its imperfection, it is full of quiet beauty. The moment you do that, you begin to step out of suffering and into peace, and that is how true rest begins. 4. Impermanence is the door to freedom. One of the deepest sources of pain in the human heart comes from holding on to what is constantly changing. We grip memories, cling to emotions, chase after people, or try to freeze time during moments we wish would last forever. But the more we try to hold life still, the more it slips through our fingers like sand. Buddhism offers us a gentle but transformative truth: everything changes. And it is in embracing this impermanence that we find our deepest freedom. The Buddha taught the concept of anicca impermanence not as something to be feared, but as something to be understood and accepted. Everything that arises must pass. Every feeling, every thought, every high and every low, they come and go like waves on the ocean. Even the mountains erode over time. Even the stars burn out. Nothing stays the same. This is not a flaw in life. This is its very nature. But when we forget this truth, we suffer. We feel heartbreak because we expected the love to last forever. We feel anxiety because we think a difficult situation might never change. We feel sadness because we believe we've lost something permanently. But the truth is, everything that feels heavy right now will eventually lighten. Every storm will eventually quiet. The pain you carry tonight is not a life sentence, it is a visitor. And like all visitors, it will leave. This realization can become your greatest source of peace, because it means you don't have to control everything to be okay. You don't have to fix every emotion or force a solution in the middle of the night. You can breathe and let it move through you. Just as the seasons change, so do your thoughts. Your struggles are not fixed. Your fears are not forever. Every second is reshaping your life in ways you cannot yet see. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you may feel the weight of certain emotions: fear, sadness, confusion, and that's okay. They're allowed to be here. But so are you. You are not your fear. You are the awareness that sees the fear. You are the sky, and your emotions are the clouds passing, shifting, dissolving. Even the strongest storm cannot last forever. Impermanence also teaches us to treasure the good while it's here, without trying to trap it. The laughter you shared earlier today, the peace you felt during a quiet walk, the comfort of a kind word, those moments are gifts, not possessions. When you stop trying to make good things last forever, you start to enjoy them more fully while they're here. And when they fade, you don't feel robbed, you feel grateful. This is why monks often meditate on Chanjano to become cold or detached, but to open their hearts to the flow of life. When you understand that all things are temporary, you begin to live more gently, more openly. You stop clutching so tightly. You stop resisting every shift. You begin to flow. So tonight, if your mind tries to convince you that you'll always feel this way, that nothing will get better, that your situation is stuck, remind yourself of what Buddhism has always known. This too shall pass. Nothing stays, and that includes your pain. Let that truth comfort you. Let it loosen the tension in your chest. Let it soften your breath. You are not trapped. You are simply passing through a moment in time. You don't have to control it. You only have to witness and let it go when it's ready to leave. The more you accept impermanence, the less you suffer. And the less you suffer, the more peacefully you sleep. You're not clinging to the day behind you or the fear ahead of you. You're resting in the stillness of this moment, knowing that everything is changing and that in this truth, you are free. 5. The breath is the bridge back to the now. In a world full of noise and motion, we often forget the one thing that's been with us since the very beginning, our breath. It's so constant, so quiet, that we overlook its power. But in Buddhism, the breath is not just a physical function. It's sacred. It's the bridge between the body and the mind, the anchor to the present moment, and the doorway to peace. When your thoughts are spiraling and your heart is restless, your breath is the one thing you can always return to. It is home. Right now, you may be lying in bed, exhausted but unable to sleep. Your eyes are closed, but your mind is wide awake. Thoughts bounce from one topic to another, worries about tomorrow, regrets about today, random memories that come out of nowhere. The more you try to force yourself to sleep, the more awake you seem to feel. But here's what Buddhism gently reminds us. You cannot think your way into sleep, you must breathe your way into stillness. Your breath is always in the present moment. It does not live in the past or worry about the future. It simply moves steady, calm, alive. That's why monks spend hours each day simply observing their breath. They're not doing it to become experts at breathing. They're doing it to train the mind to stay here, where peace lives. Try it now. You don't need to sit like a monk or chant anything. Just gently bring your attention to the breath moving in and out of your body. Feel the coolness of the air as it enters through your nose, the rise of your chest or belly, and the soft warmth of your exhale as it leaves. Follow it like a gentle wave. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. There's no need to change the breath, just observe it. Trust that it knows exactly what to do. You'll notice something beautiful when you do this. Your body starts to soften. Your jaw unclenches. Your shoulders loosen. The space behind your eyes relaxes. It's as if your body was waiting for you to finally return to it through the breath. And as your body calms, so does your mind. Not because you forced your thoughts away, but because your breath gently led you out of the storm and back into the quiet harbor of now. In Buddhist teachings, the breath is also used as a tool to train awareness. By focusing on it with kindness and curiosity, we strengthen our ability to stay present. And presence is the secret ingredient to peace. You can't be anxious if you're fully here. You can't be tangled in regret or fear if you're focused on this exact inhale and this exact exhale. Some nights, when your mind is especially busy, you might feel like breathing isn't enough. But that's only because you're still trying to outrun your thoughts. Don't fight them. Just keep returning to your breath, again and again. Like a candle in the dark, the breath will light your way back. You can even silently say words with each breath. As you inhale, think, "I am here." As you exhale, think, "This moment is enough." Repeat it. Let it become a rhythm that rocks your nervous system to sleep. Your breath is your most loyal companion. It has never left you. It is the quiet friend that carried you through childhood, through pain, through joy, through every single day of your life. And tonight, it will carry you into peaceful sleep, not by force, but by returning you to the only place you've ever truly been, now. You don't need to chase sleep anymore. Just breathe. Let the breath guide you. Let it wash over your mind like soft waves on a quiet shore. No past, no future. Just the gentle, living rhythm of this breath. And this one. And this one. Sleep doesn't begin with the perfect environment or the perfect schedule. Sleep begins the moment you come back to your breath, because your breath is peace. Your breath is presence, and your breath is you, returning home. 6. You deserve rest, not because you finished everything, but because you are human. Many people go to bed with a strange and silent burden pressing against their chest, not just stress or worry, but guilt. Guilt for not doing enough. Guilt for not being enough. Guilt for not checking off every task, not responding to every message, not solving every problem. And because of that guilt, they struggle to rest. They lie in the dark, scrolling through mental lists, asking themselves, did I do enough today? Did I waste time? What if I could have tried harder? This mental noise becomes a barrier between the body and the sleep it so desperately needs. But Buddhism offers a radical and healing truth. You don't need to earn your rest. You don't need to prove your worth in order to deserve peace. You don't have to finish everything to deserve stillness. In the West, we are raised on the idea that rest is a reward for achievement, that only when you've worked hard enough, struggled long enough, or succeeded big enough are you finally allowed to relax. But in Buddhist practice, rest is not a prize. It is a natural rhythm of life. Just as the sun sets and the moon rises, the human body was made to alternate between activity and stillness, between doing and being. To try and earn your right to rest is like trying to earn your right to breathe. It is already yours. Imagine a monk sitting quietly in meditation. He is not moving. He is not accomplishing. And yet, he is fully alive, completely present, completely enough. He is not asking himself if he deserves this silence. He is not calculating his value based on how much he got done today. He simply knows, this moment is sacred, so why not you? Why do you hold yourself to a harsher standard than those who have spent their lives mastering peace? You do not need to achieve stillness, you only need to return to it. Let go of the idea that you must finish everything before you're allowed to stop. There will always be more to do, always more to fix, to organize, to figure out. But your body is not a machine. It is not built to run without pause. Your soul is not a factory of endless productivity. It is a living, breathing presence that needs nourishment, care, and restoration. Tonight, give yourself the gift that so many deny: permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to let go. Permission to sleep without earning it. Place a gentle hand over your heart and whisper to yourself, not because someone told you to, but because your heart needs to hear it. I am allowed to rest. I don't need to finish everything to be worthy. I am enough, even in stillness. Feel the relief in that. Let it sink in like warm light spreading through your chest. There is no task more important right now than this moment of surrender. Rest is not weakness, it is how we heal. It is how we grow stronger. It is how we remember what matters. Even the Buddha himself, in the quiet of the forest, would lie down beneath a tree, close his eyes, and allow his body to renew. He did not need permission from the world. Neither do you. So, breathe. Let the to-do lists fade into the background. Let the unfinished goals gently dissolve. You are not behind. You are not lazy. You are not failing. You are simply human, and that alone is reason enough to rest. You have carried enough for one day. Let the stillness hold you now. Let the silence reassure you that you're safe. And let your body receive the peace it's been asking for all along. 6. You deserve rest, not because you finished everything, but because you are human. Somewhere along the path of growing up, Most of us absorbed a dangerous belief that rest must be earned, that stillness is a luxury, not a necessity, that if we haven't achieved enough, we haven't deserved peace. And so, every night, people lie in bed with minds that cannot stop spinning, not because they're not tired, but because they've been conditioned to believe that sleeping while something is left unfinished means they're lazy, weak, undisciplined, unworthy. We carry guilt like a hidden weight, guilt for not doing enough, not being enough, not becoming what we thought we should have by now. And so the very thing that our mind and body need most stressed becomes the very thing we feel we cannot fully allow ourselves to have. But Buddhism teaches a much different way, a way that is ancient, gentle, and liberating. It says, you do not need to finish everything to be enough. You do not need to earn the right to stop. You are already worthy, because you are human. From the moment you were born, your breath was a sign that you belonged here. You didn't have to prove it. You didn't have to meet a standard. And yet, as time passed, the world taught you to measure your value by output, by comparison, by speed. But in the Buddhist view of life, your existence itself is enough. The simple fact that you are alive, breathing, conscious means that you are deserving of rest. Not later, not when everything is done. Now, if we look to nature, we see this truth everywhere. The seasons rest, trees go bare and quiet, animals hibernate. Even the ocean has moments of stillness between waves. Nothing in nature performs endlessly. Everything has cycles, activity, stillness, creation, restoration. And yet we, the most intelligent of species, often forget we are part of that same rhythm. We live like machines plugged in, overstimulated, unable to pause. In Buddhist monastic life, there is a sacred rhythm. Yes, monks rise early. Yes, they are disciplined, but they are not driven by pressure, they are guided by presence. They do not exhaust themselves to feel worthy. They live with purpose, but they rest without guilt. Silence is not an accident in their lives, it is part of the design. Stillness is not something they escape, toits where they return. What if you could begin to see rest the way a monk does, not as a failure to do more, but as a way of honoring your body and your spirit? What if you began to see sleep not as a reward at the end of the day, but as a sacred right that belongs to you simply because you are alive? You would no longer feel ashamed for needing rest. You would no longer lie in bed bargaining with yourself. Maybe I'll sleep in peace if I just check one more thing, solve one more issue, answer one more email. But sleep doesn't work that way. The more you chase it, the more it runs. The more you try to deserve it, the more your body tenses. True rest begins not when the world quiets down, but when you do. When you stop seeing your humanity as something to fix, when you stop believing that being exhausted means you've failed. Your exhaustion is not a sign of weakness. It is a message from your soul. It's saying, you've done enough for today. Now, return to yourself. Think of your favorite childhood memory. It probably didn't happen during a moment of striving. It likely occurred in stillness, watching the sky, resting on a loved one's shoulder, drifting to sleep without fear of tomorrow. Back then, no one asked you if you'd earned that peace. It was given freely. Because children don't question their right to rest, they simply trust their bodies. That wisdom still lives inside you, buried, maybe, but not gone. Sometimes the kindest, most revolutionary thing you can do is simply lie down and say, I did what I could today, and that is enough. No more self-punishment. No more replaying the list of things you didn't do. No more comparing your rest to someone else's hustle. Just you, listening to the rhythm of your breath, feeling the pull of gravity, surrendering your weight to the bed beneath you, and allowing the earth to hold you. Because here's another truth. The world does not need you to be endlessly productive. It needs you to be whole. You cannot give your best to others when you are running on empty. You cannot live with presence if you're always pushing past your own limits. The more rested you are, the more loving you become. The more deeply you sleep, the more clearly you see. Rest is not what takes you away from your purpose, it's what strengthens you to carry it. Tonight, take a few moments to place your hand over your chest. Close your eyes. Feel your heart beating. It has worked tirelessly for you today. It has loved, hurt, feared, and hoped. It has carried your emotions through chaos and calm. Doesn't it deserve a break? Doesn't it deserve forgiveness? Doesn't it deserve rest? Say to yourself softly, like a lullaby, I do not need to be perfect to rest. I do not need to do more to be worthy. I am allowed to stop. I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to sleep in peace. Let those words become your permission slip. Let them become your healing. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not lazy for needing rest. You are simply human. And being human means you get tired. It means you cry sometimes. It means your body hurts and your soul longs for peace. That is not weakness. That is life. In the stillness of this night, let that truth finally reach you. You do not need to carry the weight of every problem, every person, every task. You can set it down, just for now. Let the silence embrace you like a soft blanket. Let your body remember that safety doesn't come from control, it comes from letting go. You deserve rest, not tomorrow, not when everything is done, but now, exactly as you are. Let your soul finally believe it. 7. True happiness comes not from getting more, but letting go. We spend so much of our lives reaching for success, for love, for peace, for answers. The world teaches us early on that happiness is something we have to chase, that it's always somewhere else waiting, in a better job, a newer home, a different relationship, a future version of ourselves who has everything figured out. And so we run, we push, we strive. Day after day, our minds race towards some imagined finish line where we'll finally be at peace. But somehow, no matter how much we gain or achieve, it never feels like enough. That's because we've been running in the wrong direction. Buddhism offers a powerful reversal of everything we've been taught. Happiness does not come from acquiring more, it comes from letting go. The more we accumulate possessions, expectations, attachments, fears, the heavier we become. The more we cling to how we think life should be, the harder it becomes to embrace how life is. We create tension by trying to hold too tightly to things that are naturally meant to flow. Imagine trying to sleep while carrying a heavy backpack. No matter how soft the bed is, you won't feel peace until you take the weight off. That's how most of us live. We bring everything we've been holding into our rest. The unfinished conversations, the silent comparisons, the fear of not being enough. And then we wonder why our hearts feel crowded and our minds can't sleep. But Buddhism teaches a path to liberation, not by getting more, but by releasing. The Buddha himself renounced a life of riches and comfort, not because they were evil, but because he saw how easily they led to attachment and suffering. He realized that true peace comes not from adding more to your life, but from peeling back the layers of craving, ego, and illusion that cover your natural state of contentment. Letting go does not mean you have to abandon your dreams or stop caring about life. It simply means loosening your grip, letting things breathe, letting things change, letting yourself flow with the rhythm of existence instead of fighting against it. When you let go, you're not giving up, you're waking up. Right now, as you lie here, think about what your mind has been holding on to. Maybe it's a mistake you made years ago that you keep reliving. Maybe it's a version of yourself you think you have to become before you're allowed to be happy. Maybe it's someone's approval that you've been chasing without ever receiving. Whatever it is, ask yourself this: is this helping me? Or is it hurting me? If it's hurting you, if it's stealing your peace, it may be time to let it go. Letting go begins with awareness. You don't have to force anything. Just notice what you've been clinging to. Notice how much energy you've spent trying to control, fix, or prove something. Notice how tired it's made you. And then softly, without judgment, begin to loosen your grip. In Buddhist practice, many monks meditate on the image of holding a rope that's burning their hand. The more they hold on, the more pain they feel. But the moment they release it, the suffering ends. We all hold burning ropes in our lives. Letting go is not loss, it's healing. It's the beginning of real freedom. This also applies to your thoughts. Sometimes the mind becomes so noisy that we think we have to fix every thought, respond to every emotion, solve every imagined problem. But you don't. Not every thought is true. Not every emotion needs a reaction. Not every mental story is your responsibility to finish. You can let them go too. You can watch your thoughts pass like clouds across a sky without needing to follow each one. As you breathe tonight, practice this letting go in real time. With every inhale, invite in presence. With every exhale, release what no longer serves you. Let go of the fear that you didn't do enough today. Let go of the pressure to be perfect tomorrow. Let go of the idea that your worth is tied to your productivity. You are already enough. Letting go also means releasing control. So many people lie awake at night trying to control the uncontrollable. We worry about how others see us, about whether we'll succeed, about what tomorrow will bring. But the truth is, control is an illusion. The more we try to grip life tightly, the more anxious we become. The path to peace isn't found in domination, it's found in surrender. Surrender doesn't mean weakness, it means trust. It means believing that life, in all its uncertainty, is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to force everything to go your way. You only need to soften, to release, to allow. When you let go of comparison, you begin to appreciate your own path. When you let go of resentment, your heart becomes light again. When you let go of trying to be someone else, you finally meet yourself. And when you let go of the need to chase happiness, you often realize it was always here. Happiness is not somewhere you arrive after life finally cooperates. It's something that rises naturally when you're no longer weighed down. And you can feel that tonight, not in some far-off future, but here, in the silence, in the breath, in the space you create by releasing. You may not have fixed everything today. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you can still be at peace. Not because your life is perfect, but because you're learning how to let go of what you cannot control, and in doing so, reclaim your ability to feel calm, grateful, and alive. So as you close your eyes, whisper gently to yourself, I release the need to hold everything. I let go of what is heavy. I return to the simplicity of this breath, this body, this moment. You don't need to add anything more to be at peace. You just need to subtract what's been blocking it. And that begins, always, with letting go. 8. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you return to. So many people move through life believing that peace is something to search for, to chase after, to one day discover if the circumstances are finally right. We tell ourselves we'll find peace when we make more money, when the relationship is perfect, when our goals are complete, when our health improves, when everything feels under control. And so, we begin to treat peace like a destination on a map, a place we have to reach after we've fixed everything that's broken. But Buddhism teaches a different truth, a quieter truth, one that doesn't require us to wait or wander. Buddhism teaches us That peace is not something you find, it's something you return to. It's already inside you. Not later, not someday, but now. We lose sight of peace not because it's missing, but because we've become distracted by everything else. Like the sun behind thick clouds, your peace is still there, always. Even when hidden, even when forgotten, even in the middle of chaos, grief, or confusion. The reason it feels distant is because your mind is spinning, your heart is burdened, and your attention is being pulled in 1,000 directions. But that doesn't mean the peace is gone. It only means you've turned away from it. In Buddhist teachings, we are reminded that the natural state of the mind is clear, calm, and still, just like a deep lake. But the surface becomes choppy when stirred by thoughts, emotions, and the endless attachments we gather throughout our day. The goal isn't to eliminate all the winds of life. The goal is to remember that beneath the surface, the water is always still. Imagine your mind like that lake right now. Even if the surface is restless, the depths are undisturbed. Even if your day was filled with tension, even if your heart is carrying pain, there is still a place within you that is untouched by all of it. A place that has never been hurt, never been rushed, never been afraid. That place is your inner peace. And you don't need to create it, you only need to return to it. But how do we return? Not through effort, not by force, not by trying to make everything perfect. You return to peace by letting go of the noise that covers it. You return to peace the way you return home, by stopping the search and recognizing you were never truly lost. Begin by noticing the tension in your body. The places where you're holding your jaw, your shoulders, your stomach. Let them soften. No need to force it. Just breathe and allow. Bring your awareness back to the simplicity of this moment. Not the story in your mind, not the world outside your room. Just this breath, this heartbeat, this silence. Feel how safe this moment is. Right here, there is no demand, no judgment, no past chasing you, no future pressuring you. Only now. And in now, there is no problem. Just awareness. Just stillness. One of the Buddha's greatest insights was that peace does not come from controlling the world. It comes from calming the mind that judges the world. It's not your life that has to be quiet. It's your inner response to it. That means peace is not dependent on how much money you have or how many things go your way. It's not about escaping hardship, it's about meeting hardship without resistance. It's about learning to sit with what is, without clinging or pushing it away. This is why Buddhist monks can live in such simplicity and yet radiate profound peace. It's not because their lives are easy. It's because they have trained their minds to rest in awareness instead of being hijacked by emotion. They know that the mind, like a wild animal, can be tamed, but only with patience, presence, and practice. And that practice starts now, with you. Let your thoughts come and go like birds in the sky. You don't have to chase them or block them. Just let them pass. Let the noise fall into the background. Let your awareness become wide and soft. Feel the space around your body. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breath. Inhale slowly. Exhale deeply. This is your return. You don't need to analyze anything tonight. You don't need to fix the day behind you or prepare for the one ahead. The world can wait. Right now, your only job is to come home to yourself. And your true self is not the busy one. It's not the anxious one. It's not the voice in your head that says you're not enough. That's just the ego talking, an echo of fear and conditioning. Your true self is the silent witness underneath it all, the one that watches, that breathes, that simply is. The Buddha said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." This is not just a quote, it is an invitation. An invitation to stop outsourcing your happiness to things outside of you. To stop believing that your life needs to look a certain way before you're allowed to feel calm. Because peace is not a destination, it is a decision. A decision to pause, to be still, to listen, to return. This return is available to you every moment of every day. It's available when you're overwhelmed, when you're sad, when you're lonely, when you're afraid. Especially then. You don't need to wait for the world to be quiet. You only need to become quiet inside. Tonight, as you rest, don't think of sleep as something separate from peace. Sleep is not the reward for being productive. It is the natural state that flows when you stop fighting, and peace flows with it. The more you surrender to the rhythm of your breath, the deeper you drop into stillness. And in that stillness, something soft and familiar begins to rise. Not a thought, not a feeling, but a knowing. The knowing that you are already whole, that you were never broken, that you have always had access to this stillness because it's who you are. Let this knowing cradle you. Let this truth melt away your tension. Let this inner peace wrap itself around you like a warm blanket, reminding every cell in your body that you are safe, that you are enough, that you are finally home. You are not lost. You are not incomplete. You do not need to seek any longer. 9. You cannot pour calm into chaos. You must first quiet the cup. In the rush of life, we often try to force peace into our lives like pouring tea into a trembling cup. We meditate while scrolling. We breathe deeply but clench our jaw. We pray for stillness, but our mind is already chasing the next thought before the words are finished. It's like trying to pour calm into chaos, hoping that a few drops of stillness will somehow erase the storm. But Buddhism teaches us something deeper, something quieter, something real. You cannot fill a cup that's already shaking. You must first still the hands holding it. If you want true peace, lasting calm, deep sleep, not surface-level silence, but soul-level stillness, you have to begin not by adding peace, but by removing the agitation that covers it. You must stop pouring, stop fixing, stop striving. You must begin by quieting the cup. This cup is your body, your breath, your thoughts, your nervous system, your spirit. And when it's full of noise of stress, fear, regret, anger, pressure, anything poured into it, even the purest peace will spill over. It won't stay. It won't land. You'll taste peace for a moment, then lose it again. That's because true rest doesn't begin with addition, it begins with surrender. Think about how often we try to fix ourselves through force. We think, if I just do more yoga, read more self-help, change my routine, meditate longer, say more affirmations. And while these are beautiful tools, they cannot help a cup that is shaking from the inside. The outside actions must follow an inner decision to pause, to release, to become still enough to hold peace, not just chase it. In Buddhism, the idea of calming the inner cup is central. Monks don't rush into meditation. They prepare, not with noise, but with simplicity. They slow down their breath. They observe their thoughts without judgment. They stop pouring more into their minds and allow the ripples to settle. Like a muddy jar of water, stirred all day, if you just let it sit, the sediment naturally falls to the bottom. The water becomes clear. The same is true for your mind. You do not need to force your mind into stillness. You simply need to allow it to settle. Let's take a moment now. Feel your breath. Not with control, just with curiosity. Inhale gently. Exhale completely. Again and again. Let the breath wash over the chaos like rain over fire. Not to extinguish everything instantly, but to soften the edges. With each breath, imagine your inner cup growing still, the tremble in your chest easing. the noise in your head fading into the background. You're not trying to stop your thoughts. You're simply choosing not to follow every one of them. Let them float by. Let them be. You're not the thought, you're the stillness beneath it. You cannot pour calm into a life that is built entirely around motion, speed, and striving. You must learn how to pause, not because you've earned it, but because your spirit is begging for it. Every day, we fill ourselves with noise. Screens, opinions, schedules, expectations. It's like pouring liquid into our minds from every direction, and then wondering why we can't sleep at night, why we feel heavy, why the silence feels so uncomfortable. It's because we haven't learned how to empty the cup. We haven't created the space for peace to stay. And yet, you're here now, which means some part of you is ready, not to be perfect, not to finish anything, but to rest, to learn the ancient and sacred art of stillness, not as an escape from life, but as a return to it. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is alignment. Stillness is power. When your cup is calm, even the softest drop of truth ripples all the way through you. A single breath can feel like a blessing. A single kind thought can melt pain. A single silent moment can stretch into eternity. But first, the shaking must stop. The cup must be still. So how do we still it? We begin by softening, not controlling, not fixing, not perfecting, just softening. Soften your expectations, soften your breath, soften your inner dialogue. Say to yourself softly and honestly, I've carried enough today. I don't have to hold it all. I don't have to pour anything more into myself tonight. You've done enough. You've tried enough. You've held yourself together long enough. And now, the greatest act of strength you can offer is to put it all down. Let the cup rest. Let your breath deepen. Let your body melt into the support beneath it. There is nothing to chase in this moment. There is nothing to prove. Let this be the moment you stop trying to be okay and simply allow yourself to be. The Buddha once said, "Be like a hollow bamboo, open, empty, and still." This wasn't a call to be numb or passive. It was an invitation to stop filling yourself with everything you think you need and instead discover the power of openness. Because when you are empty of striving, you become full of peace. When you are still, you become capable of receiving the present. When you stop pouring, you finally begin to feel. So tonight, choose to be the calm, not the storm. Choose to be the still cup, not the pouring hand. And if the noise returns, don't panic. Just pause. Return to the breath. Return to the stillness. Return to the truth that you do not need to do anything to be enough. You only need to become quiet enough to remember. This silence, this breath, this moment, is the doorway to everything you were searching for. Peace isn't something you need to add. It is something that arrives the moment you stop shaking and allow your cup to finally rest. True healing begins when you stop trying to escape the moment. There is a common misunderstanding about healing gun that many people carry quietly in their hearts without even realizing it. We believe healing means removing the pain. We think that if we can just escape discomfort fast enough through distraction, through avoidance, through mental control, then we'll be okay. That if we can just outrun the sadness, silence the anxiety, or block out the memories, then we'll finally feel peace. But the more we try to escape, the more trapped we become. The more we resist what we're feeling, the more that feeling takes root inside us. And the more we fight the present moment, the more it fights us back. Buddhism teaches a gentler way, an honest way. It teaches that true healing begins not when you escape the moment, but when you fully enter it, as it is. You see, the moment you are in right now is not your enemy. It may contain discomfort, it may contain stillness, it may contain emotion that feels too big to hold, but it is not trying to destroy you. It is not here to punish you, it is here to awaken you. Every moment is a teacher, and suffering only deepens when we refuse to listen. When you stop running, stop covering, stop numbing, and finally turn toward what is without judgment, you begin to dissolve the layers of resistance that cause so much of your pain. This is not easy, especially not at first. We are conditioned to run from boredom, from silence, from sadness. We look at our phones, we eat, we scroll, we distract, we busy ourselves endlessly, anything to avoid being alone with the raw truth of our inner world. But that rawness, that emotion beneath the surface, is not the enemy. It is the wound asking for your attention. It is the scar you've been ignoring, whispering, "Please stop abandoning me." In Buddhist meditation, practitioners are taught not to block pain but to observe it, to sit with it, to breathe through it. Not to fix it, but to simply be present with it, like sitting beside a crying child without trying to shush them, but simply holding space for their tears. This alone, your presence, is the beginning of healing. When you stop resisting the moment, even if it's difficult, something incredible happens. You stop adding suffering to pain. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain says, "This hurts." Suffering says, "This shouldn't be happening. I can't handle it. I need this to go away right now." That second voice, that's where the true weight comes from. That's what steals your peace. Imagine a river. If you fall into the current, your instinct might be to thrash against it, to panic, to fight the water. But the more you fight, the more exhausted you become. The water doesn't stop, the current doesn't care, and your panic only pulls you deeper. But if, instead, you stop struggling and begin to float, the river carries you gently. You may not be in control, but you're no longer drowning. That's what it means to stop escaping the moment, to stop fighting the river of now. There is a stillness available to you, even in discomfort. There is a peace that doesn't require perfect conditions. It only requires acceptance, not passive resignation, but active, compassionate presence. To say, "Yes, this is here, and I am strong enough to sit with it." That is not weakness, that is spiritual courage. And it's in that moment, when you stop wishing the moment away, that healing begins. Right now, maybe your body feels heavy, maybe your mind feels restless, maybe your heart is carrying stories that never found an ending. Let them be here. Let them rise. You don't have to push them away. You don't have to solve everything before sleep. Healing does not require a resolution tonight. It only requires that you stop pretending you're not hurt. Let your feelings rise like waves, and instead of blocking them, ride them. Observe the fear, the doubt, the sadness not as enemies, but as energy moving through you. Feelings are like guests. They visit, they stay for a while, and if you don't chase them or push them out, they eventually leave. But if you lock the door in fear, they stay longer. If you try to fight them, they grow stronger. What you resist persists. What you allow transforms. In Buddhist tradition, there's a practice called touching the earth. When monks are overwhelmed, they kneel, place their hands on the ground, and connect to the reality of this moment. They don't chant for escape. They don't pretend the struggle isn't real. They simply ground themselves in what eyes in the truth that they are alive, breathing, and capable of facing the now. You can do the same. You don't need a temple. You don't need a ritual. You just need to return to the breath. Feel it. Right now. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Again and again. This is the earth beneath your storm. This is the anchor in the waves. This is your return to the place where healing actually happens, not in the fantasy of a better moment, but in the surrender to the one you're already in. Let your breath become your home. Let your body be the space where truth is allowed to live, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And that's what healing truly is, being with what is real, with tenderness, and without rush. There is no need to force yourself to be okay, no need to hide your tiredness, no need to perform strength when you're breaking inside. The present moment is not asking for your perfection. It's asking for your presence, just your presence. Whisper this to yourself gently. I don't need to escape, I only need to be here. I am allowed to feel, I am allowed to rest, I am allowed to heal slowly. Sleep does not come by running from the moment. It comes when your body finally trusts that it is safe. And that safety begins the moment you stop rejecting where you are. Let your breath be your permission slip to rest. Let your stillness be your medicine. Let your honesty be the beginning of a new kind of peace, the kind that doesn't depend on anything changing, but only on you choosing to stay with yourself through it all. This is not just how healing begins. This is how healing becomes permanent. By walking back into the present moment with open arms and whispering, I'm here now, I'm not leaving. You are not the noise in your mind, you are the silence behind it. There is a quiet truth that many people never fully learn, and it's the very reason they carry exhaustion like a second skin. They believe that peace comes when the world finally calms down, when everything outside is fixed, finished, or understood. But Buddhism teaches something very different. It tells us that peace is not found in the outside world, nor is it found in completing the last task, winning the last argument, or figuring out the last piece of life's puzzle. Peace comes from within, not because we silence the world, but because we remember who we truly are beneath all the noise. And who we are is not the constant chatter in our minds, not the spinning thoughts, not the repetitive worries, not the painful memories. Who we are is the awareness that notices all of it without becoming any of it. You are not the noise in your mind, you are the silence behind it. This truth is not poetic, it is practical. Because once you stop believing you are your thoughts, everything begins to change. You stop arguing with them, you stop fearing them. You stop feeling defeated by the chaos they create. Instead, you begin to observe them like clouds passing through a vast sky scene, acknowledged, but never mistaken for the sky itself. The mind produces thoughts, the way lungs produce breath, and the heart produces beats. It's simply what it does. But just because the mind is thinking does not mean you are the thought. You are the one who sees the thought, the one who listens, the one who knows that something is happening. That silent knowing, that presence that watches without reacting is the real you. And that is where peace lives. In Buddhist meditation, this understanding becomes a living experience. Practitioners do not try to stop their thoughts, because doing so only adds more struggle. Instead, they sit quietly, gently noticing whatever arises. When a thought comes, they acknowledge it without judgment. When a feeling rises, they allow it to be there without pushing it away. Over time, they discover that even in the midst of mental activity, there is a deeper stillness underneath, like the bottom of a deep lake, untouched by the ripples on the surface. And that stillness, that quiet awareness, is not something that needs to be built. It is something that is always present. It has just been covered by noise, distracted by endless identification with thoughts that were never truly who we are. Right now, as you lie in silence, your mind may still be talking. That's okay. That's not a problem. Don't fight it. Don't try to shut it off. Instead, bring your attention to the one who is noticing the thoughts. Feel the breath entering and leaving your body. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. These are not things you're doing, they're happening naturally. And just as the breath happens without effort, so does awareness. You don't have to make it appear. It's already here. You just have to return to it. The more you return to the present moment, the more you begin to see that thoughts are only visitors. They are not permanent. They are not truth. They are not you. They come and they go. Some arrive with emotion, Some repeat themselves, some shout, but none of them define you unless you decide to believe them. This is not about denying your thoughts. It's about watching them from a place that is larger than the thought itself. You are not your anxiety. You are not your regrets. You are not your self-doubt. You are the space in which these things arise and fall. You are the one who sees them come and go. It may sound abstract, but it is actually the most grounding experience you can have. Because when you stop chasing peace through thinking, and you begin to experience the peace of being, you finally come home to yourself. You don't need the outside world to quiet down. You don't need your circumstances to be perfect. You don't need your mind to be empty. You only need to stop believing that your thoughts are you. You only need to realize that there is a deeper, quieter you beneath the activity of the mind, that you can watch it all without being overwhelmed by any of it. This is why some of the calmest, most centered people are not those who live in perfect conditions, but those who have learned to find stillness within themselves. They have stopped trying to control every thought and have started to rest in the awareness that never changes. In that awareness, everything is okay, not because it's all perfect, but because there's space for imperfection, there's space for healing, there's space for silence. And in that silence, we are finally able to rest, not just physically, but spiritually. So tonight, as you lie down to sleep, do not wait for your mind to be silent in order to rest. Instead, shift your attention to the silence that is already here, the silence that exists in the space between thoughts, the silence that exists underneath the mental noise, the silence that is holding you even now. You are not the thought racing through your head. You are not the past event that keeps replaying. You are not the fear of tomorrow. You are the awareness that notices all of these things and remains unchanged. And from that place, peace is not something you achieve, it is something you remember. Let your body soften. Let your breath slow down. Let your thoughts come and go without grabbing onto them. And each time they pull you in, gently return to the breath, return to the body, return to the present moment. Do this not to force peace, but to remember that peace is already here. The silence within you is not emptiness, it is sacred. It is the space that allows everything else to arise. It is the background of your life, constant and still, even when the foreground is noisy and full. When you rest in that silence, you are no longer trying to escape your mind. You are no longer caught in the illusion that you must solve every thought before you can feel okay. You simply allow the mind to do what it does, while you remain grounded in the part of you that is untouched by any of it. This is the heart of Buddhist practice. Not to escape life, but to be fully awake within it. Not to stop the mind, but to stop mistaking the mind for who you are. As you fall asleep, carry this truth with you not as a belief, but as a living awareness. Let it hold you. Let it guide you into deeper rest. Let it remind you that you are already whole, already enough, already home. You are not the noise in your mind. You are the silence behind it. And in that silence, everything you've been seeking, peace, healing, stillness, has been waiting for you all along. The present moment is not a place you visit, it's where your life actually lives. Most people spend their entire lives in two places. One is the past, and the other is the future. They replay memories that cannot be changed, and rehearse scenarios that haven't yet arrived. They relive old pain, wondering what they could have done differently, and they imagine future challenges, trying to prepare for every possibility. This constant mental travel becomes the default state of the mind. And as a result, the only place where life is actually unfolding, the present moment, is overlooked, ignored, or abandoned. It becomes something we visit occasionally by accident, before the mind pulls us somewhere else. But Buddhism offers a powerful and humbling truth. The present moment is not a temporary space, it is the only place where life actually exists. You see, Your entire life is happening now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, not in the plans you made or the memories you've kept, but right here in the breath you're taking, in the sensations in your body, in the silence between thoughts, in the gentle awareness that you are alive. And yet, despite this truth, most people miss their lives completely because their attention is never where their feet are. They may be in a room, but their mind is somewhere else. They may be talking to a loved one, but their thoughts are already planning the next conversation. They may be lying in bed, but their nervous system is still chasing unfinished tasks from the day. This disconnection is not just mental, it's spiritual. It's the reason so many feel empty, anxious, or unfulfilled, even when nothing is visibly wrong. Buddhism doesn't treat the present moment as a goal to be achieved after years of practice. It treats the present moment as the ground of awakening, the doorway to enlightenment, peace, and freedom. When you truly understand that this moment is all you ever have, your relationship with life changes. You begin to stop rushing, you begin to soften, you begin to truly live. Because living doesn't happen in memories or projections. Living happens in awareness, in attention, in stillness. Living happens now. But why is it so hard for us to stay here? The mind is not used to presence. It is used to movement. It believes that the more it thinks, plans, analyzes, and controls, the safer we will be. It doesn't understand that no amount of thinking about the future will ever give us the peace that comes from arriving fully in the now. The future is always an idea. It never arrives as you imagine it. And the past, no matter how many times you revisit it, cannot be altered. The more time you spend in either, the more you abandon the only place where healing, growth, and rest are truly possible. Right now, you are being offered something sacred, not just sleep, but a return to your own life, a return to the breath, a return to your senses, a return to the experience of being fully alive without needing anything to be different. This doesn't require effort. It requires awareness. It requires the willingness to pause, to stop chasing something else, and to see what is already here. As you lie in bed tonight, ask yourself, where is your attention? Is it in the unfinished details of your day? Is it in tomorrow's worries? Is it looping back to something someone said that didn't sit right? Wherever it is, gently bring it home, not through force, but through compassion. Bring it back to the feeling of the mattress beneath your body. Bring it back to the rhythm of your breath. Bring it back to the sounds around you, the weight of your limbs, the stillness of this moment. The present moment is not just where your body is, it is where your spirit can breathe again. It's where you stop performing and start feeling. It's where the masks fall away and the truth becomes simple again. You don't need to be anyone in the present moment. You don't need to prove anything, achieve anything, or impress anyone. You just need to be here. That's all. And that is enough. In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is not about becoming someone else, it's about remembering who you are when the mind becomes quiet. It's about drinking your tea with full presence, walking with full awareness, breathing without needing to fix anything. These small acts, when done in full presence, become powerful. They become healing, because they reconnect you with what is real. They pull you out of the mind's illusions and return you to life as it actually is, messy, sacred, immediate. The irony is that most of what we're searching for, peace, connection, joy, healing, is already here. We just don't see it because we're looking elsewhere. It's like standing in your own garden and dreaming of flowers in someone else's field. The beauty you long for is already blooming at your feet if you would only look down and notice. So tonight, notice. Not later, not tomorrow, but now. Notice the breath. Notice the silence. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Notice how everything you need in this moment is already here. The bed is holding you. The air is nourishing you. The breath is steady. The body is alive. There is nothing missing in this moment. There is only the illusion that something else must be happening for you to feel peace. But that illusion is learned. You were not born with it. You were born with presence. And you can return to it, gently, again and again. The present moment does not demand that you fix your entire life tonight. It doesn't care how productive your day was or how many things are unresolved. It only asks that you show up, that you stop leaving yourself over and over again, that you stop running from the life that is quietly waiting for your attention, because this moment right here is sacred. It is your home, and it is more than enough. When you begin to live this way, not just during meditation, but in ordinary moments, your life starts to transform. Not because the circumstances change, but because your presence changes everything it touches. A simple meal becomes an experience of gratitude. A quiet moment becomes a doorway to peace. Even suffering becomes bearable because you are no longer carrying it alone in your thoughts. You are breathing through it, one moment at a time. This is not theory, it is practice. It is a way of being, and it begins with this breath, right here, right now. So breathe deeply, not to reach somewhere new, but to return to where you've always been. Breathe, not to escape, but to arrive. Breathe, not to control the world, but to come home to yourself. And with each breath, remind yourself, I don't need to chase peace, I just need to stop running from the present. I don't need to fix this moment, I only need to enter it. This is where my life is, this is where I belong. Let those words ground you. Let them quiet the mind. Let them remind you that the gift of this moment has always been here, waiting patiently for you to come back. The world may still be busy, the future may still be uncertain, but right now, in this stillness, you are free. Free to breathe, free to rest, free to simply exist without trying to be anything else. And that freedom is not temporary. It is the beginning of a new relationship with life itself, one rooted not in reaction, but in awareness, not in fear, but in presence, not in endless seeking, but in peaceful arriving. You are already here, and here is exactly where you're meant to be. You don't need to escape your life, you need to learn how to be fully alive within it. There is a quiet suffering that many people carry, a deep, often unspoken feeling that something is missing. Even when life seems okay from the outside, even when basic needs are met and routines are followed, there's a part of the heart that whispers, is this really it? And in the silence of night, when distractions fade and the mind becomes louder, that whisper turns into a weighter sense of disconnection, of restlessness, of spiritual homesickness. And for many, the response becomes instinctual. Try to escape. Escape into entertainment, into busyness, into fantasy, into goals that never end. The world around us encourages this with every notification, every advertisement, every message that says happiness is somewhere else, somewhere later, somewhere better than here. But Buddhism gently reveals a deeper truth. You don't need to escape your life, you need to learn how to be fully alive within it. This is not about becoming a monk or giving up everything. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is beautiful. It's about waking up to what's already here. Waking up to the richness of your own existence, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. Being alive doesn't mean constantly achieving or striving or fixing. It means being aware. Aware of your breath, your body, your surroundings, your emotions. Fully present in your life, rather than merely surviving it. Most people are not truly living. They're existing in a state of constant tension pulled between regrets about the past and fears about the future. Even when they sit down to rest, their minds don't stop. Even when they're doing something they love, they're thinking about what comes next. This disconnection isn't a flaw, it's a habit. A habit created by years of trying to escape discomfort instead of learning how to meet it. And the more we escape, the more we drift from the one place we can actually feel peace, the here and now. To be fully alive is to return to yourself, to feel the warmth of the sun on your skin and actually notice it, to take a sip of water and be grateful for it, to listen to the voice of a loved one and hear the layers of meaning behind their words, to breathe and realize that each breath is not just a function, it's a miracle. Life is not something that happens later. It's something that is happening now, in every sound, every heartbeat, every step, but you can only experience it if you're here for it. Buddhist practice is not about removing yourself from life. It's about entering life so completely that you stop needing to run. The Buddha never asked people to escape their reality. He asked them to see it clearly, without distortion. He taught that suffering comes not from life itself, but from our refusal to be with life as it is. We suffer not because things happen, but because we believe they shouldn't. We suffer because we resist, because we avoid, because we disconnect. But when we let go of the idea that life should feel different, and begin to open ourselves to what's actually here, something begins to shift. We stop fighting every moment. We stop needing constant stimulation. We begin to feel again not just the pain, but also the beauty. Pain is part of life. So is joy. So is stillness. So is confusion. To be fully alive is not to feel good all the time. It is to feel everything with awareness, compassion, and presence. It is to walk through your life with open eyes, an open heart, and the courage to stop numbing yourself every time things get uncomfortable. Right now, you may be lying in bed, carrying the weight of the day. You may be remembering a conversation that hurt you. You may be planning 100 things for tomorrow. You may be wondering when you'll finally feel at peace. But peace doesn't come when you escape the present. Peace comes when you begin to trust that this momento ever imperfectis enough. It may not be what you expected, it may not be what you wanted, but it is real. And that makes it sacred. You don't need to wait for a future version of your life to begin participating in it. You don't need to escape to some mountain retreat or start over from scratch. You don't need to become someone else. You simply need to stop running and begin noticing. Notice your breath. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice the thoughts passing through your mind. And instead of judging them or following them, just let them be. Watch them the way you would watch clouds pass across the sky, temporary, moving, not who you are. You are not the anxiety. You are not the regret. You are not the pressure to perform. You are the one who sees all of it. And that part of you, the aware, conscious part, is not broken. It has never been broken. It is not exhausted. It is still, like a mountain beneath the wind. And when you return to that part of yourself, even for a few moments, the need to escape begins to dissolve. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become more present, more grounded, more connected to the only thing that's ever truly been yours, the now. Being fully alive means making peace with where you are. It means honoring your humanity. It means breathing through discomfort instead of covering it up. It means sitting with your feelings instead of numbing them with noise. It means remembering that your life is not something that starts after the next milestone. It's happening now. Every breath you take is part of it. Every small decision, every quiet moment. This is your life. And the more you are present for it, the more beautiful it becomes, not because it changes, but because you finally show up for it. Let yourself arrive. Let the thoughts fade. Let the day go. You don't need to carry it anymore. You don't need to fix everything tonight. You don't need to understand everything that's happened. You only need to be here, in this breath, in this body, in this moment. That is enough. That is more than enough. Let your awareness spread across your body like soft light. Feel the weight of your arms, the way the bed supports you, the way your breath rises and falls without any effort. This is what it means to return. Not to escape your life, but to re-enter it with gentle attention. The world may tell you to keep going, to keep running, to keep improving. But your soul is asking for something different. It is asking for stillness, for presence, for peace. And that peace doesn't arrive when your life is perfect. It arrives when you stop trying to escape yourself and start listening to what's been here all along. Say to yourself quietly, I don't need to escape. I don't need to chase something better. I am already alive. I am already here. And let that truth settle into your bones like warmth. This life, this ordinary, sacred, imperfect life, is yours. And you don't need to leave it to find peace. You only need to live it, one breath at a time. The reason you're so tired isn't just because you did too much. It's because you've been holding on to too much for too long. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep cannot fix, a kind of exhaustion that no nap, no day off, no perfect routine can erase. It's not always visible. It's not always physical. Sometimes your body is resting, but your soul is still running. Your mind is still looping. Your heart is still holding. And you wonder why, even after hours in bed, you wake up feeling just as heavy as when you closed your eyes. Buddhism offers us a gentle mirror in moments like this. It reminds us that the weight you feel isn't always from what you've done. It's from everything you haven't let go of. You're not just tired from working too hard or doing too much. You're tired because you've been carrying too much for too long without knowing how to put it down. This kind of weight doesn't show up like a sore muscle. It hides behind the eyes. It lives in the shallow breath, the tight chest, the racing thoughts. It creeps into the moments when you're alone, when the world is finally quiet, but your inner world is still loud. It's the conversations you keep replaying in your mind, trying to change the ending. It's the expectations you've placed on yourself, the ones you never questioned, but always obeyed. It's the invisible pressure to be more, do more, prove more even when no one is watching. It's the guilt you carry for things you didn't cause, the shame for being human, the fear that if you stop holding it all together, everything will fall apart. You've learned how to survive this way, to be strong, to endure, to keep moving even when everything inside you is asking for rest. But there's a cost to that kind of survival. The longer you carry what no longer serves you, the more it drains you not just mentally, but spiritually, and the body begins to feel it. The nervous system stays activated. The breath becomes shallow. The jaw stays clenched. You become tired not just at the end of the day, but at the beginning. And no amount of sleep can give you back the energy that holding everything stole from you. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is not in the experience, it's in the attachment, it's in the holding on. When we cling to the past, to identities, to outcomes, to expectations, we create tension, we create resistance, and resistance takes energy. Just like a clenched fist, your inner being cannot receive peace until it relaxes, until it opens. But most of us have forgotten how to open. We've trained ourselves to hold, to grip, to control, because letting go feels like failure. It feels unsafe. But in truth, letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's recognizing that your strength is not measured by how much you carry, but by how gently you're willing to put down what isn't yours anymore. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending things didn't happen. It means choosing not to carry the emotional weight of something that already occurred, something that's no longer happening except in your mind. It means freeing yourself from the responsibility of constantly fixing, controlling, or rewriting the past. It means giving yourself permission to be light again, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer punishing yourself with what you cannot change. Right now, take a slow breath and feel where the weight lives in your body. Maybe it's in your shoulders, which always feel tight. Maybe it's in your back, your stomach, your chest. Maybe it's in the space behind your eyes, the tiredness that comes from seeing too much, expecting too much, holding too much. Wherever it lives, meet it with your breath. Not to force it away, but to acknowledge it. You don't have to carry this forever. You never had to carry it alone. And yet, you did, because you didn't know how to stop. No one taught you that you could put it down. That rest is not something you earn, it's something you're worthy of simply because you exist. You've been holding emotional stories inside you for years. Maybe you carry the belief that you're not enough, that you're behind, that you have to be everything to everyone. Maybe you carry the pain of what someone said or didn't say, the absence of closure, the heartbreak of silence. Maybe it's disappointment, yours or someone else's, that you keep swallowing, hoping it will dissolve, but it never does. Maybe it's the way you feel unseen, misunderstood, stretched too thin, always giving, rarely receiving. This is what your tiredness is made of. It's not just the hours you've been awake. It's the years you've been emotionally bracing yourself. It's the months you've spent holding back tears, biting your tongue, showing up when you had nothing left to give. That kind of tiredness cannot be fixed by sleep alone. It requires healing. And healing begins with honesty. The honesty to admit, I am tired. Not because I'm weak, but because I've been strong for too long. I've been carrying more than I should, and I'm allowed to stop. Buddhism doesn't offer escape. It offers freedom through awareness. It teaches us to observe what we're carrying and to ask, is this mine? Is this helping me? Is this true? So often, the answer is no. And yet we continue to carry the story, the memory, the role, the weight as if we owe it to someone. But you don't. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself rest. You owe yourself the permission to stop carrying what has already run its course. You are allowed to let go of the version of you that had to hold everything. That version was needed at one time. It helped you survive. But survival is not the same as living, and you are ready to live. You are ready to breathe without armor, to rest without guilt, to trust that putting something down doesn't mean you're giving up, it means you're coming home. Let this moment be the beginning. Not the moment you figure it all out, but the moment you stop pretending you need to. The moment you stop carrying every unanswered question, every unfinished task, every unresolved feeling into your rest. Let it stay outside the door of this night. Let your bed become a sacred place, not for planning, not for fixing, not for holding, but for surrendering. Your tiredness is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is your body's way of saying, please listen. Please come back to yourself. Please stop trying to hold the entire world. And you can listen now, not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, but now. Place a hand over your heart, close your eyes, feel the rise and fall of your breath. Say to yourself gently, I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to let go. I am allowed to be soft, even if the world around me is hard. And as you lie here, feel the weight begin to shift, not all at once, but piece by piece. Feel your body respond to the truth that it no longer has to brace itself, that it no longer has to carry every invisible burden, that it is safe to relax, that the mind can be quiet, that the spirit can be still. You have done enough. You have carried enough. And tonight, you can finally rest, not because you fixed everything, but because you finally gave yourself permission to stop holding everything. And in that surrender, you will find the kind of peace that no amount of effort can create. That peace has been waiting for you all along. Real peace doesn't come from controlling your life, it comes from trusting it. We spend so much of our lives trying to keep everything under control. We make plans, create backup plans, analyze every possible outcome, and do our best to stay ahead of uncertainty. Deep down, we believe that if we can just manage every detail, if we can predict every turn, anticipate every danger, and prepare for every possibility, then maybe, just maybe, we can finally relax. We hold on tightly to schedules, to identities, to relationships, to imagined versions of the future, hoping they will keep us safe. But life never truly listens to our plans. No matter how much we try to control it, things still go wrong. People still change. Circumstances still shift. And in the end, we are left feeling not more secure, but more anxious, more drained, more disconnected from the present moment. Buddhism offers us a much different path, a softer, more truthful path. It teaches that real peace doesn't come from controlling your life, it comes from trusting it. This trust is not blind. It's not about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is fine. It's about understanding that control was never the source of your safety to begin with. Control is exhausting. It creates an illusion of security, but in reality, it keeps you in a constant state of tension. You can't rest when you're trying to manage the uncontrollable. You can't enjoy your life when you're always trying to steer it according to an invisible script. And you can't find stillness when your mind believes that peace depends on everything going your way. Buddhism teaches the principle of non-attachment, not to make us indifferent, but to make us free. It shows us that clinging tightly to how things should be only leads to suffering. The more we resist what is, the more pain we create. But when we soften, when we loosen our grip, when we allow life to unfold without needing to control every step, something shifts. We move from resistance to acceptance, from tension to flow, from fear to peace. Trust is not the same as passivity. Trust is an active surrender. It's choosing to meet life with open hands instead of closed fists. It's deciding to show up fully, to take each step with intention, but without demanding that every detail match your expectations. It's releasing the belief that your worth or your safety depends on how well you manage every outcome. And when that release happens, when you stop micromanaging every part of your existence, you begin to breathe differently. You begin to sleep more deeply. You begin to live more fully. Right now, as you lie here, you may still be holding on to decisions you're afraid to make, holding on to fear of what might happen tomorrow, holding on to the belief that if you let go for even a moment, everything will fall apart. But ask yourself, has control ever truly protected you from pain? Has worrying ever truly changed the future? Or has it only stolen your present? Real peace doesn't come when everything is certain. It comes when you no longer need certainty to feel okay. It comes when you stop resisting what life is offering you and start trusting that you can meet whatever comes, not because it will be easy, but because you are resilient, because you are adaptable, because you don't need a perfect life to feel grounded. You just need to be present within it. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering, that the tighter we hold on, the more we struggle. But when we trust the flow of life, even with its unpredictability, we stop drowning. We learn to float. We learn to move with the current instead of constantly fighting against it. That doesn't mean we give up on effort or stop making choices. It means we release the illusion that our peace depends on the outcome of every effort or the perfection of every choice. You are not here to control everything. You are here to live, to learn, to grow, to experience. And some of the most beautiful parts of life, the love, the transformation, the awakening, they come not when everything goes according to plan, but when things fall apart and you learn how to rise anyway. When you stop resisting change, when you begin to see uncertainty not as a threat, but as a teacher. Trust asks you to soften, even when you're afraid. It asks you to breathe, even when your mind wants to fix. It asks you to sit with the unknown And remember that your strength is not in your ability to control the storm, but in your ability to remain still within it. This kind of peace cannot be built on control. It must be rooted in surrender. A conscious, courageous surrender to the truth that you are not in charge of everything, and that's okay. As you lie here tonight, feeling the rhythm of your breath, let this truth settle into you like warmth. You don't need to control tomorrow. You don't need to fix everything before you rest. You don't need to figure it all out before you can be at peace. Life will keep unfolding. People will keep changing. Some things will work out, others won't. But through it all, you will still be here, breathing, aware, capable of meeting the next moment, whatever it may bring. Let go, not because you're giving up, but because you're waking up. Let go, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand that holding on too tightly has only made you tired. Let go, because the present moment is already enough. Let go, because real rest requires real trust. And say to yourself gently, honestly, from the heart, I am allowed to stop trying to control everything. I am allowed to trust the process of my life. I am safe in this moment, even if I don't have all the answers. I don't need certainty to feel peace. I just need presence. Feel how your body responds to these words. Notice the way your shoulders begin to lower, the way your breath slows, the way your heart softens. This is what happens when you stop fighting the natural rhythm of life. This is what happens when you trust, not because you know what's coming next, but because you've stopped needing to. You have carried so much for so long, the fear, the pressure, the need to have it all figured out. But tonight, you are allowed to put it all down. Not forever. Just for now. Just long enough to remember what peace feels like. Just long enough to reconnect with the part of you that doesn't need to strive. Just long enough to fall into the stillness that has always lived beneath the noise. Trust doesn't ask you to be passive. It asks you to participate fully in your life while letting go of the need to control the outcome of every step. It asks you to be present, to be responsive, but also to surrender to what you cannot change. And in that surrender, you will find something you've been chasing for far too long: rest. Not just physical rest, but soul rest. The kind that softens your mind, slows your heart, and reminds you that you don't have to hold the whole world to be worthy of peace. So tonight, rest. Not because everything is solved, not because everything is done, but because you finally remembered that your peace does not depend on control, it depends on trust. And that trust begins now. You don't have to earn stillness, you just have to return to it. In the world we live in, stillness is treated like a luxury. It's something we imagine we'll find one day after all the problems are solved, after the work is finished, after everything falls perfectly into place. We delay our rest. We delay our peace. We tell ourselves we'll slow down when we've earned it, when we've fixed ourselves, when we've accomplished enough, when we've proven we're worthy of stopping. And so we keep running. We run through our days, through our tasks, through our thoughts, always chasing something just ahead, something that promises to make us feel whole. But the wholeness never arrives. The finish line keeps moving, and deep inside, our soul becomes weary. Not because we've done too much, but because we've forgotten something essential. Stillness is not something you earn, it's something you return to. Buddhism reminds us that the peace we long for is not found in effort, but in remembrance. You were born with stillness. It is your original nature. Before you learned to doubt yourself, before you were taught to compare, to strive, to fear falling behind, there was stillness inside you. It lived in your breath, in your presence, in the way you could sit in wonder without needing to fix or achieve anything. That stillness hasn't left. It didn't disappear. It's just been buried beneath layers of expectation, distraction, and noise. And the more you try to earn it by doing more, the further away it seems to get. The truth is, stillness doesn't need to be created. It doesn't need to be achieved. It only needs to be remembered. And remembering is not about force, it's about release. It's about letting go of everything you think you have to be, everything you think you have to do, and coming back to this breath, this moment, this now. Because now is where stillness lives. Not in the past, not in the imagined future, not in a version of yourself you haven't become yet, but right here, as you are, in this body, with this breath. We have been conditioned to equate worth with movement, to feel valuable when we are productive, to feel strong when we are busy, to feel safe when we are in control. But all of these are illusions that keep us disconnected from our true nature. You are not a machine. You are not a checklist. You are not a project that needs to be constantly upgraded. You are a living, breathing soul that longs for depth, for quiet, for meaning. And stillness is how you meet that longing, not by chasing something new, but by allowing yourself to fully be with what already is. Think about how often your mind is trying to be elsewhere. Even when you're sitting still, your thoughts are racing, planning, replaying, anticipating. Even when you're doing nothing on the outside, the inside is full of noise. And that noise is exhausting not because it's wrong to think, but because we've forgotten how to stop being consumed by thought. We've forgotten how to sit in the silence beneath it, the silence that is always there, the silence that asks for nothing, the silence that accepts you without demand or judgment. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it's the presence of awareness. It's what remains when you stop trying to become someone else. It's the peace that arises when you no longer need to explain, perform, or justify your existence. It's the spaciousness inside you that holds everything, the joy, the fear, the confusion, the calm without being defined by any of it. In Buddhist teachings, monks often sit in silence for hours, not because they are doing nothing, but because they are doing the most important thing of all. They are returning to the breath, returning to awareness, returning to the source of peace that never left them. You don't need to become a monk to experience this. You don't need to live in a temple or leave your life behind. You only need to pause. You only need to listen. You only need to be here, now, without needing the moment to be anything other than what it is. And yes, at first, it can feel uncomfortable. Stillness can be terrifying when you've been running from yourself for years. The quiet can feel loud when you're not used to it. The silence can feel threatening when you've always filled it with doing. But if you stay, if you keep breathing, keep observing, keep softening, you will begin to notice something extraordinary. You will feel yourself arriving in your own life, not the story of your life, not the idea of your life, but the real, present moment experience of being alive. You will feel your breath without needing to control it. You will feel your body without needing to change it. You will feel your presence without needing to improve it. And in that feeling, you will know something that no book or teacher can give you. You will know peace no as a concept, but as a living truth inside you. Right now, as you lie here, let yourself come back. Come back from the thoughts that tried to carry you into tomorrow. Come back from the regrets that pulled you back into yesterday. Come back from the identity that says you need to be more before you can feel whole. You are already whole. You are already enough. And you are already here. Feel the rise and fall of your breath. Feel the weight of your body supported by the bed beneath you. Feel the space around you, the stillness within you. Nothing more is needed in this moment. Nothing more is required. You don't have to fix your past to feel peace. You don't have to control the future to feel calm. You don't have to do anything at all. Just breathe, just be, just return. This return is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is not full of effort. It is soft, subtle, gentle. It happens in the space between thoughts, in the pause between breaths, in the quiet awareness that watches everything come and go without needing to change it. This is where stillness lives, and it has always lived here, patiently waiting for you to notice. There will always be more to do. There will always be something unfinished. But that doesn't mean you have to carry the weight of everything all the time. You are allowed to rest, even when things are incomplete. You are allowed to be still, even when life is messy. You are allowed to feel peace, even when your mind tells you there's no time for it. Stillness is not a luxury. It's not a reward. It's a right you were born with, a right that no one can take away, except you by forgetting that it's yours. So tonight, remember, not with force, not with pressure, just with presence. Let yourself slow down. Let yourself soften. Let yourself stop performing. Stop striving. Stop trying to hold the world together. The world will not fall apart because you took a moment to return to yourself. In fact, the more you return, the more clearly you see, the more wisely you move, the more gently you treat others and yourself. This is not just about sleep. This is about your relationship with yourself. This is about remembering that you are more than your tasks, more than your fears, more than your thoughts. You are awareness itself. You are the witness behind the mind. You are the space that allows life to unfold. And you don't need to earn that space. You only need to trust it enough to return to it. Say to yourself now, in the silence of this moment, I am allowed to be still. I don't need to prove anything right now. I don't need to be anywhere else. I am here, and here is enough. Let these words wash over you. Let them settle into your nervous system like medicine. Let them remind you that you were never broken. You were never lost. You just forgot how to stop running. But now you remember. Now you return. And in that return, you find what you were chasing all along. Not out there, but in here. Not in some perfect version of the future, but in the presence of this moment. Not in effort, but in surrender. This is your stillness. This is your peace. Not earned, not given. Just remembered, and finally reclaimed. You are not behind in life, you are just following a different timeline than the one fear created. There comes a point in almost every soul's journey where a subtle but powerful thought begins to grow louder in the background of the mind. I'm behind. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet pressure, a heavy breath, a comparison you didn't ask for, a feeling that somehow, somewhere, you've missed something important. It shows up when you see others succeeding, when you scroll through curated timelines, when people ask you, so, what's next? It shows up when things don't happen as quickly as you hoped, when your path doesn't look like theirs, when your progress feels invisible. And even though you keep showing up, even though you're trying, there's still this nagging ache inside whispering that you should be further than you are. Buddhism invites us to see this differently. It teaches that you are not behind in life, you are simply living on a different timeline than the one fear created. Fear is clever. It wears many masks. Sometimes it shows up as urgency, other times as shame. Often it disguises itself as ambition, but beneath all of it is a single message. You are not enough yet. You are not where you should be. And so, without realizing it, we begin measuring our lives by someone else's milestones. We forget that time is not a race. We forget that souls don't bloom on a schedule. We forget that the moon does not rush to be full, and yet it always becomes whole in its own time. Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises not from what is, but from the gap between what is and what we think should be. That gap is the birthplace of comparison, frustration, and despair. And yet, the truth is That gap only exists in the mind. It is not real. There is no universal clock ticking behind the scenes. There is no cosmic scoreboard keeping track of who arrived first. The tree does not resent the flower for blooming earlier. The river does not compare itself to the rain. Everything in nature flows according to its own rhythm, and so do you. The pressure to be somewhere other than where you are is not coming from your heart. It is coming from conditioning, from messages repeated over and over again by culture, by media, by well-meaning people who don't understand your path. These messages tell you that if you're not doing what others are doing by a certain age, or if you're not constantly improving, producing, or proving your worth, then you've somehow failed. But the truth is, every soul's path is deeply personal. What looks like a delay to the world may actually be divine protection. What looks like being behind may be a period of inner transformation, too sacred to be rushed. Think about all the things you've survived, all the lessons you've learned, all the pain you've carried and still showed up. The world may not have given you a trophy for healing. It may not recognize the quiet courage it took to keep going, but Buddhism teaches us to look deeper, to recognize progress not in comparison to others, but in relationship to your own suffering. Have you become more aware? Have you softened, even a little? Have you caught yourself mid-thought and chosen compassion over criticism? These are not small things. These are sacred milestones. Right now, you may feel like you're not where you want to be. That's okay. Desire is natural. But suffering comes when you believe that your current state is somehow wrong. Buddhism teaches us to meet the present moment with compassion, not resistance. To see it not as a mistake, but as the only place where life can truly be lived. You don't need to abandon your goals, but you do need to stop treating your current self like a problem that needs to be fixed before peace is allowed. There is no right time to arrive anywhere. There is only your time, and your time cannot be compared to anyone else's. It is shaped by your experiences, your traumas, your temperament, your unique constellation of blessings and burdens. And just like some flowers bloom in spring and others in late autumn, your blossoming may look different than what you expected. But different does not mean late. Different does not mean wrong. It simply means true. One of the greatest sources of exhaustion is not the path itself, but the constant belief that you should already be somewhere else. That belief keeps you running, keeps you doubting, keeps you from resting in the truth of where you are. But the moment you let go of that belief, even for a breath, you begin to experience something radical. You begin to experience peace, no because everything is how you wanted it to be, but because you are no longer resisting how it is. As you lie here now, maybe you're still carrying that weight, the pressure to catch up, to speed up, to make up for lost time. But time is not lost. Every moment you lived, even the ones that didn't look like progress, helped shape you. The setbacks, the detours, the pauses, they were not wasted. They were part of the journey. And sometimes, the most important chapters are the ones no one else sees, the ones where you were learning patience, the ones where you were building quiet strength, the ones where you were learning how to be with yourself. There is a version of you that exists beyond the pressure, a version of you that does not measure their worth in productivity or milestones, a version of you that understands life as a spiral, not a straight line. That version of you is still here, and it's time to return to them. Let your breath be your guide. Let it slow. Let it soften. Let it remind you that you are not late. You are not behind. You are here, and here is sacred. There is nothing wrong with having goals, but make sure they are rooted in love, not fear. Make sure they expand your soul, not shrink your worth. And make sure you understand that no matter how much you do, you will not be more valuable than you already are. Your value does not increase with your achievements. Your peace does not arrive when you finally catch up. Your healing is not waiting on the other side of more doing. Your healing is here, in the pause, in the breath, in the choice to stop measuring your life against someone else's, in the courage to rest even when the world says you should be running. Buddhist wisdom invites us to stop rushing through our lives as if there's a finish line to reach before time runs out. It invites us to walk with presence, with grace, with acceptance of where we are, even when it's messy, even when it's slow, even when it doesn't match the timeline in our heads. Because life is not a race. It is a sacred unfolding, and every part of your journey matters. Say to yourself now gently, but firmly, I am not behind. I am on my path. I am allowed to move at my own pace. My life does not need to match anyone else's to be meaningful. Feel the release in those words. Let them sink into your nervous system. Let them soften the fear that said you should be further than you are. Let them bring you home, not to a place of resignation, but to a place of remembrance. Remembrance that your life is unfolding in perfect alignment with your soul's readiness. That you are not falling behind, you are simply arriving in your own time. You were never meant to chase your worth. You were meant to remember it. And now, in this moment, you do. Not because someone else validated it, but because you stopped running long enough to feel it for yourself. You are not behind. You are becoming, and that is enough. The mind will always chase something, but the heart is only asking you to be here. One of the most misunderstood truths about the human experience is this: the mind is never satisfied. Even when you get what you want, even when you reach a goal, find success, or create a moment of happiness, the mind moves the finish line. It whispers what's next, what's missing, what's better. You lose weight, and it wants more. You find love, and it fears losing it. You rest for a moment, and it reminds you of all that is undone. This isn't because your mind is broken. It's because it's conditioned to chase. That's what it does. It projects forward. It plans. It compares. It measures. But what we rarely realize, what we are never taught, is that while the mind is chasing, the heart is calling us home. Not home as in a place, but home as in presence, as in this exact moment, as in now. Buddhism helps us bridge that gap. It teaches that while the mind will always chase something, the heart is only asking you to be here. This conflict between the chasing mind and the still heart is the root of much of our exhaustion. We think we are tired from life, but often we are just tired from resisting the present moment. We are tired from being split between where we are and where we think we should be. The body is lying in bed, but the mind is in a meeting, a memory, a future disaster that hasn't happened. We are rarely where our feet are. And that constant dislocation between the body and the mind creates a nervous system that can never fully relax. It creates a life that is always in pursuit, but never in peace. The Buddha taught that the source of suffering is craving for things to be different, for the future to arrive sooner, for the past to be rewritten. The chasing mind is not evil, it's just untamed. It's doing what it was designed to do, to think, to imagine, to seek. But without awareness, the mind becomes the master, and we become its servant. We live in its projections instead of in our reality. We live in what-ifs and not-enoughs, and when I get theirs, and we miss the miracle of what's already here. The heart, however, speaks a different language. It doesn't speak in pressure, it speaks in presence. It doesn't speak in timelines, it speaks in truth. The heart doesn't need more to feel whole, it needs less noise, less chasing, less distraction. The heart only wants one thing: for you to come home to yourself, for you to sit in the stillness of now and remember that peace was never about achieving a perfect life. It was about remembering who you are beneath the noise of your thoughts. And who are you, really? You are not your plans. You are not your progress. You are not the voice in your head that says you are behind. You are not the fear that says you'll never be enough. You are the presence beneath all of that. The awareness that sees, the breath that moves without needing to be told, the stillness that holds the storm. And the more you practice returning to this presence, not just in theory, but in real, felt experience, the more you remember that you were never meant to live entirely in your head. You were meant to live with your whole being. Right now, as you lie in stillness, maybe your mind is still running. Maybe it's planning tomorrow. Maybe it's solving problems. Maybe it's wondering if you'll ever get to where you want to go. That's okay. The goal is not to stop the mind. The goal is to stop believing that every thought it creates is true. The goal is to notice the thought and then come back. Come back to the breath. Come back to the body. Come back to the room you're in. Come back to the heart that never left. Presence is not found in silence. Presence is found in attention, in choosing, again and again, to be where you are. Even when it's messy, even when it's imperfect, even when your mind tells you it's not enough. Presence says, this is enough. This breath, this moment, this body, this you. You don't need to chase your way to peace. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to become someone else to deserve rest. You just need to stop running for a moment. Just long enough to feel the ground beneath you. Just long enough to hear the sound of your own breath. Just long enough to realize that you are alive, and that this aliveness is enough reason to stop, to listen, to soften. Every time your mind pulls you away from now, your job is not to punish it. Your job is to return, like training a puppy, gently, lovingly, again and again. Back to the now, back to the breath, back to the body, not because now is perfect, but because now is all there is. Everything else is a projection. The future is a thought, the past is a memory, now is reality. And the heart only speaks the language of reality. There is a sacred rhythm to life, but it can only be felt in the present. It cannot be found in plans or achievements. It is not loud. It does not compete for your attention. But when you slow down enough to listen, you hear it. In the bird song, in the silence, in the way your chest rises and falls, even when your thoughts don't. In the space between one thought and the next. In the hum of existence itself. Buddhist monks train for years to do what most people think is nothing, to sit, to walk, to breathe with awareness, because they understand that the most important journey is not out there. It is not to a new country or a new career or a new identity. It is the journey inward, the journey to being fully awake inside your own life. You don't have to live in a monastery to walk that path. You can start right now, where you are, with what you have, with your breath, with your body, with your tiredness, with your longing. All of it is welcome. You don't have to fix yourself to arrive. You only have to stop running from where you already are. Tonight, let the mind run if it needs to, but don't follow it. Watch it like you would watch a river from the shore. Let the thoughts flow. Let them pass. And instead of jumping in, stay here. Stay with the heart. Stay with the stillness. Stay with the part of you that never needed to chase anything to be worthy of love. Say to yourself softly but clearly, I don't need to be anywhere else. My mind is allowed to wander, but I don't have to follow it. My peace lives in this moment, not in the next one. I am home now, in my body, in my breath, in my being. And from this place, sleep will come not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped forcing yourself to be more than you are. Peace will come not because you achieved everything, but because you let go of the need to achieve your way to worth. Love will come not from others, but from within, because the heart has always been asking for one thing only, to be heard. You don't need to chase anymore. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to reach a destination to feel alive. You only need to stop, to listen, to return. And in that return, you'll find everything you've been running toward was always already here, quietly waiting for you to come home. You don't need to silence the mind to sleep you, just need to stop fighting it. So many people believe that in order to fall asleep peacefully, they must first conquer the noise in their heads. They imagine that a quiet mind is the doorway to rest, that thoughts must be silenced, eliminated, erased. And when the thoughts come, as they always do, they resist them, they argue with them, they try to push them away. But the harder they try to stop thinking, the louder those thoughts become. Sleep, instead of arriving gently, becomes another battle to be won. Buddhism offers a profound truth here, one that frees you from this exhausting pattern. It teaches that you don't need to silence the mind to sleep, you only need to stop fighting it. This shift is everything, because the more you resist your thoughts, the more power they gain. The more you try to suppress them, the more they rise up. This is not weakness, this is nature. The mind is not an enemy, it's an organ doing what it's designed to do. Think. Just like your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your stomach digests, your mind creates thoughts. That's its function. And yet, we treat it as a flaw. We make it the villain in our quest for peace. But what if the thoughts themselves are not the problem? What if the only real problem is our resistance to them? Imagine standing by a river. The water is moving quickly. Leaves, twigs, and debris float past. Your thoughts are like those objects in the river. They're always flowing. Some are heavy, some are light, some come with emotion. But you are not the river. You are the observer. You are standing on the shore. The mistake we often make is that we jump into the river. We try to chase the leaves. We grab them, examine them, fight them, drown in them. But what if you didn't? What if you let the river be a river? What if you watch the thoughts without needing to control them? This is the heart of Buddhist mindfulness. Not to eliminate thinking, but to change your relationship with thought, to observe without attachment, to notice without judgment, to see your thoughts not as absolute truths, but as passing clouds in the sky of your awareness. The sky does not try to change the clouds. It does not panic when one becomes dark. It simply holds space. That's what your awareness can do. And when it does, something magical happens, not because the mind stops, but because your identification with it loosens. Right now, as you lie here, your mind might still be active. Maybe it's reviewing the day. Maybe it's worrying about tomorrow. Maybe it's replaying something you wish you'd said differently. That's okay. Let it. Let the mind talk. Let the thoughts come. But don't fight them. Don't try to control them. Just shift your attention. Bring it to the breath, to the rise and fall of your chest, to the way your body feels against the sheets, to the sensation of being held, supported, safe. Each time a thought arises, say to yourself, thinking is happening. Not I am thinking, but thinking is happening. This small change reminds you that you are the witness, not the thinker. The thoughts are arising in your awareness, but they are not you. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to agree with them. You don't need to make them stop. You only need to watch them without grasping, without judgment, without fear. Buddhism teaches that clinging is the source of suffering, and we cling to our thoughts all the time. We believe them. We get wrapped up in them. We mistake them for reality. But thoughts are not facts. They are mental events, temporary, shifting, often reactive. And when you stop clinging to them, when you let them pass like weather, you begin to access a deeper layer of being. A layer where peace lives not because the mind is silent, but because you are no longer trying to control it. You don't need perfect mental stillness to fall asleep. What you need is trust. Trust that your thoughts can come and go without dragging you into them. Trust that the body knows how to rest, even when the mind is moving. Trust that awareness itself is enough to bring you back to calm. And the more you practice this trust, the more you allow rather than resist, the easier rest becomes. Think about how often we brace ourselves against life. We clench, we tighten, we try to manage every detail. We do the same thing with the mind. We try to micromanage every thought. But the body and mind respond not to control, but to compassion. What would happen if, instead of trying to shut your mind off, you simply acknowledged it? Yes, I see you, thought. You're here. And it's okay. You don't have to like the thought. You don't have to believe it. But you can allow it. And in that allowing, you reclaim your power. Allowing does not mean surrendering to chaos. It means returning to the present. It means gently redirecting your attention without force. Every time the mind wanders, you have an opportunity not to criticize yourself, but to return to the breath, to the body, to the now. And the more you return, the more you train the nervous system to relax, to release the need for vigilance, to soften into presence. You are not failing when your mind is busy. You are not broken because you have thoughts. You are human. You are alive. And your worth is not measured by your mental silence. Your peace is not dependent on perfect inner quiet. It is found in the space between resistance, in the pause between effort, in the gentle practice of being with what is. So tonight, as you rest, release the expectation that you must be perfectly still in mind. Let go of the pressure to empty your thoughts. Instead, hold space. Be the witness. Let the thoughts be clouds. Let the breath be the anchor. Let your awareness expand. Say to yourself, I allow my thoughts to come and go. I do not need to fight them. I am the space in which thoughts arise and pass. My mind can be active, and I can still rest. Feel the freedom in that. Feel how it removes the pressure. Feel how it opens the door to softness, to trust, to true surrender. The mind is like a child. It wants to be heard, not silenced. It wants compassion, not control. And when you stop fighting it, it stops fighting you. It begins to quiet not through force, but through safety. It begins to rest not because you forced it, but because you held it with care. This is the secret Buddhism teaches. You don't need to conquer the mind to find peace. You only need to stop resisting it. And in that non-resistance, you fall not into chaos, but into clarity. Not into noise, but into presence. Not into thought, but into being. So let your thoughts come, let them pass. Return to the breath, return to the body, return to the now, again and again, gently, lovingly, without shame. And in that return, sleep will come not as something you chase, but as something that arrives. Because you finally stopped chasing, you finally stopped resisting, you finally let go. And in the letting go, you remembered the truth. Peace was never the absence of thought. It was the absence of resistance. The soul doesn't heal through force, it heals when you feel safe enough to rest. In this world that constantly demands more from you, more speed, more results, more productivity, more perfection, it's easy to forget one essential truth. Healing cannot be forced. You cannot rush the soul to recover. You cannot command the nervous system to calm. You cannot bully the heart into letting go of pain before it's ready. And yet, so many of us try. We try to push ourselves out of sadness. We try to think our way out of anxiety. We try to talk ourselves into peace. We look at healing as a task to be managed, a project to be completed. But Buddhism teaches us something radically different, something deeply liberating. The soul doesn't heal through force, it heals when it feels safe enough to rest. Just think about how often we try to fix ourselves. We treat pain as a malfunction. We treat exhaustion as failure. We treat emotions as problems that must be solved. And when we feel overwhelmed, we assume we're doing something wrong. We search for the right affirmation, the right habit, the right mental trick to make the discomfort go away. But discomfort is not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that something inside you is asking to be heard. And no part of you will ever heal through pressure or shame. Healing is not something you can schedule. It unfolds in its own time, in its own way, like a wound that slowly closes, not because you tug at it, but because you finally stop picking it open. Buddhist wisdom invites you to look inward, not with judgment, but with awareness. It asks you to become a compassionate observer of your own suffering, not to deny it, not to repress it, not to demand that it leave, but to sit with it, to breathe with it, to hold space for it with gentleness. Because suffering is not just pain, it is pain multiplied by resistance. And when we stop resisting, when we allow ourselves to truly be with what we feel, then, and only then, can healing begin. Right now, maybe you're holding grief you haven't named. Maybe you're carrying stress in your body that you've ignored for months. Maybe you're exhausted not just physically, but spiritually, because you've spent so long pretending to be okay when you weren't. And maybe you've tried everything: books, routines, productivity hacks. Maybe you've told yourself 1,000 times to just get over it. But what if the very act of forcing yourself to get over it is what's been keeping the pain alive? What if the healing isn't in the doing but in the stopping? You are not a machine. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a human being with a nervous system that has limits, with a heart that has scars, with a body that remembers everything, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every time you pushed through when you needed to pause. And if you truly want to heal, you have to stop treating yourself like an enemy. You have to stop trying to fix yourself from the outside in. You have to understand that healing begins when your body feels safe enough to exhale. This is why Buddhism emphasizes non-striving, a state of being where you're no longer trying to get somewhere, but instead allowing yourself to be exactly where you are. It's not laziness. It's not giving up. It's radical acceptance. It's telling your body, you are safe now. You don't have to be in fight or flight anymore. You are allowed to rest. And when the body hears that message, not just intellectually, but through breath, through presence, through consistency, it begins to let go. The muscles soften, the mind slows, the heart begins to trust. Sleep is one of the greatest acts of trust. You are literally surrendering control. You are letting go. And yet, many of us approach sleep the same way we approach life, with control, with force, with pressure to get it right. But just like healing, sleep cannot be forced. It only arrives when the body and mind feel safe enough to release. And that safety isn't created through more effort, it's created through presence, compassion, and stillness. So tonight, give yourself permission not to heal instantly, not to be perfect, but simply to pause, to rest, to be enough as you are. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be better by tomorrow. You just have to show up for yourself in this moment with honesty and care. Ask your body what it needs. Ask your heart what it's been holding. Ask your nervous system what it's trying to protect you from. And then listen, not with the intention to fix, but with the intention to understand. Maybe what you need most is not another strategy. Maybe what you need is to be held by silence, by breath, by awareness, by the deep truth that even now, even in your pain, even in your fatigue, even in your uncertainty, you are worthy of love, worthy of rest, worthy of peace. Buddhism does not promise quick fixes. It does not offer shortcuts. It invites you into a deeper relationship with reality, with the present moment, with the sensations in your body, with the thoughts in your mind, with the truth of who you are beneath all your striving. And that truth is this: You are not behind in your healing. You are not failing. You are unfolding. And unfolding takes time. Healing is not linear. It is not a straight line from brokenness to wholeness. It is a spiral. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll fall apart. Some nights your thoughts will keep you up. Some nights you'll sleep deeply. It's all part of the process. And when you stop demanding that healing look a certain way, when you stop rushing yourself to feel better, when you stop comparing your progress to others, you create the space your soul needs to breathe again. Let this be your new ritual, not one of performance, but one of presence. Before sleep, place a hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Say softly, "I am safe. I am here. I am allowed to rest." Say it not to force calm, but to create the conditions for calm to arise naturally. Say it not as a command, but as a permission slip, one that your soul has been waiting for. The world may not give you this permission. It may keep asking for more, but you do not belong to the world's demands. You belong to something deeper. You belong to the part of you that remembers how to be still, that remembers how to breathe, that remembers how to trust the pace of your own becoming. Tonight, you don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to solve every problem. You don't have to carry what's too heavy. You are allowed to lay it down, to unclench, to stop striving, to simply be. And in that being, healing begins not as something you chase, but as something that arrives when you stop running. So, breathe. Let your body know it's okay to soften. Let your heart know it's okay to feel. Let your soul know it's okay to rest, not later, not when everything is perfect, but now. You don't have to force peace. You only have to create the safety for it to return. And when it does, you will remember what the noise made you forget, that you were never broken. You were just tired. And now, at last, you are allowed to rest. The world may be loud, but your peace is found in inner stillness. You live in a world that never stops moving. From the moment you open your eyes, the noise begins. Notifications buzzing, headlines flashing, expectations pressing against your chest like invisible weights. You wake up already behind. You scroll before you even breathe. The outside world keeps feeding your mind with urgency. Do more, be more, fix yourself, hurry. And so, you start running before your soul even has a chance to stretch. But no matter how much you chase, there's this quiet ache inside, this fatigue, this restlessness, this question, when will I feel peace again? Buddhism answers with a timeless truth. The world may be loud, but your peace is not lost. It is simply waiting for you to return to your inner stillness. Stillness is not something you find outside of you. It's not in a perfect environment or a completely silent room. You could be surrounded by chaos and still be still. You could be lying in the quietest bed and still be drowning in noise. Because noise is not just sound, noise is mental clutter. It's the storm of thoughts, the endless commentary, the future worries, the past regrets. It's the internal radio that never shuts off. And unless you learn to change your relationship with that noise, you'll spend your life reacting to it, mistaking motion for meaning and busyness for value. Buddhism does not promise a world without noise. It invites you to build a center within yourself so deep, so steady, so rooted in presence that the world can spin, and yet you do not. It teaches that peace is not found in controlling everything around you, but in no longer being controlled by everything within you. This is what meditation trains us to remember, not how to escape the world, but how to stop letting the world escape us. Right now, maybe your mind feels crowded. Maybe you've been carrying too many thoughts for too long. Maybe the weight of other people's voices, opinions, timelines, and expectations have drowned out the voice you actually need to hear your own. And maybe, for a long time, you've believed that silence was something you needed to create, to force, to earn. But the truth is simpler. Silence was never gone. You just stopped listening to it. Imagine a clear lake at dawn. No wind, no ripples, just stillness. That's what your soul looks like when it's undisturbed by mental noise. But the mind, like wind, stirs the surface. It creates movement, distraction, but underneath, the stillness is untouched. That inner calm never left. You don't need to create it. You only need to access it. And you do that not by fighting the thoughts, but by watching them, by becoming the stillness that observes rather than the storm that reacts. Buddhism gives us a tool for this: the breath. The breath is always now. The breath is always honest. It doesn't care what happened today or what might happen tomorrow. It just moves in and out, soft and steady. And when you return to the breath, not as a technique, but as a sanctuary, you return to stillness. You return to the body. You return to the part of you that has never been overwhelmed, never been stressed, never been afraid, the witnessing presence behind all of it. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It's the space in which thought arises. It's the awareness that notices a thought without chasing it. It's the calm that watches emotion without collapsing into it. And when you live from this place, even if only for a moment, you discover something extraordinary. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky they pass through. You are not the storm. You are the silence beneath the thunder. You don't need to escape your life to feel peace. You don't need a retreat, a vacation, or perfect conditions. You just need to remember how to be here, fully, gently, without judgment. That's what the Buddha meant when he said, "Peace comes from within, do not seek it without." Because the noise will always be there, the notifications, the opinions, the pressures. The question is not whether the world will be quiet. The question is whether you will be. This inner stillness is not fragile. It is not easily broken. It is not lost just because your day was loud. It is resilient. It is always waiting. But it requires your attention. It requires your willingness to stop feeding the noise with more noise. It requires a sacred pause, not to run away from life, but to return to the truth beneath it. You may ask, how do I begin? You begin by breathing, slowly, consciously. You begin by noticing the weight of your body against the bed, the rhythm of the air entering your lungs, the fact that in this moment you are safe. And as your awareness sinks into your breath, as you settle into your body, the noise does not disappear, but it stops owning you. Stillness is not something you chase. It's what you fall into when you stop chasing. It's what rises when effort dissolves. It is already here beneath your striving, beneath your thinking, beneath your doing. And the more you return to it, the more your nervous system learns that it no longer has to stay in survival mode. It no longer has to brace for the next demand. It can simply be. Think of a snow globe. When shaken, everything inside swirls in chaos. But if you place it down and stop shaking it, the flakes settle on their own. That is your mind. You don't need to force the settling. You only need to stop shaking. And that begins with choosing to be still, not externally, but internally. You don't have to master meditation. You don't need to achieve spiritual enlightenment. You only need to give yourself permission to be where you are, to sit with yourself, to breathe, to watch the thoughts without becoming them, to feel the emotions without judging them. And in doing so, you create a space so sacred, so still, that even the loudest noise can't reach it. The world will continue to demand your attention. But your peace is not something it can take. Your peace is not on your phone. It's not in your job. It's not in your future. It is here, in your breath, in your body, in your stillness. Say to yourself now, not as a wish, but as a truth, I am allowed to be still. I am not the noise in my mind. I am the awareness that hears it. My peace is not gone. It is within me. I return to it now. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your bedtime. Let that be the final word of the day, not the anxious thoughts, not the to-do lists, not the shame or the pressure, but this still, steady presence that says, you've done enough, you are enough. You can rest now. Because the truth is, you were never disconnected from peace. You were just distracted. And tonight, you remembered. You were not born to be productive. You were born to be present. You live in a world that worships productivity. From the moment you can walk and talk, the world begins to measure you by your output. How much you can achieve, how fast you can improve, how many tasks you complete in a day, how visible your progress is to others. And so, almost without noticing, you begin to believe that your value is tied to how much you can do. You internalize this belief so deeply that even when your body is exhausted, even when your spirit is asking for rest, there is still a whisper inside your head saying, you haven't done enough yet. You can't rest yet. You haven't earned it. But Buddhism cuts through this illusion with a single, gentle truth. You were not born to be productive. You were born to be present. You were not placed on this earth to chase endless goals. You were not created just to perform for others or to meet invisible standards that keep shifting further out of reach. You were created to experience life, to breathe, to feel, to witness the world through your senses, to notice the breeze on your skin, the flicker of candlelight, the rising and falling of your own chest, to live or not just exist in a cycle of doing. This isn't to say that action is bad, or that ambition has no place, but somewhere along the way, doing replaced being, success replaced presence. Busy became a badge of honor, and in the process, we lost something sacred. We lost the ability to sit quietly and feel at peace with ourselves, even when there's nothing left to prove. If you are constantly chasing achievement, but never feel at home within yourself, then you are not living, you are running. You are not present, you are surviving. And you will never find peace in motion that's rooted in fear. Because when you measure your worth through productivity, rest becomes guilt. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Stillness becomes something to escape. But Buddhism reminds us of the opposite truth. It tells us that true peace is not found in doing more eights, found in doing less and being more, in pausing, in breathing, in simply existing without the need to justify it. It tells us that the deepest form of nourishment does not come from effort but from stillness, from the gentle art of just being. You are not your to-do list. You are not your goals. You are not the number of hours you worked today. You are not the sum of what you accomplished. You are a living, breathing being. And that, in itself, is enough. If your entire life was stripped of titles, achievements, and recognition, you would still have value. You would still be worthy of love. Because your worth was never based on what you do. It was based on who you are. And who you are is already whole. Right now, maybe you've been pushing yourself too hard. Maybe you've forgotten what it feels like to sit down without needing to earn it. Maybe even lying in bed, your mind still searches for reasons to be productive. It thinks about tomorrow, about deadlines, about everything that still isn't done. But the truth is, life doesn't begin once everything is finished. Life is happening now, and if you miss it, waiting for a perfect moment, you'll look back and realize you were never really here. Presence doesn't require effort. It requires permission. The permission to pause, the permission to listen, the permission to let go of expectations. You don't have to fix anything right now. You don't have to get ahead. You don't have to be anywhere but here. The moment you allow yourself to just be, return to your natural state, one of awareness, one of breath, one of peace. Imagine a field untouched by footsteps, no paths, no goals, just open space. That is your inner being when it's not clouded by the need to perform. That is what stillness feels like. It is vast, quiet, and deeply alive. And the more you return to it not as an escape, but as a home, the more your nervous system begins to heal. The more your heart begins to trust that it doesn't have to strive every second to be worthy. There is a quiet revolution that happens when you choose presence over productivity, when you decide that your evening does not have to be useful, that your peace is not wasted time, that your softness is not weakness. The world may not reward you for this, but your soul will. Sleep is not the enemy of growth, it is the root of it. Stillness is not a distraction from progress, it is the soil in which all growth takes place. Your body cannot repair when you are pushing. Your mind cannot restore when it is running. Your spirit cannot expand when you're trapped in not enough. Tonight, you are invited to lay down the armor, to stop performing, to stop proving, to stop striving. You are invited to rest not because you checked everything off your list, but because you exist, because you are here, because your breath is a miracle, because your being is sacred. When you feel the urge to do something, notice it, breathe with it, ask it gently, what am I trying to earn right now? You might hear answers like love, validation, worth. But then ask, what if I already had those things? And feel how the body softens, how the mind releases its grip, how the pressure dissolves. You are not behind. You are not lazy. You are not wasting time by resting. You are remembering. Remembering what the world made you. Forget that peace is your birthright, not a reward for productivity. That presence is your home, not a luxury. That being is enough. Say to yourself, softly, I am not here to be productive. I am here to be present. My worth is not measured by my output. I am allowed to rest. This moment is complete. I do not need to add anything to it. Let those words become your lullaby. Let them rock you into rest. Let them untangle the knots inside your chest. Let them remind your body that it is safe now, that there is nothing more to chase, that you are allowed to just be. Even if your day was imperfect, even if your mind is still active, even if you feel like you should be doing more, let all of it be here, without resistance, without shame. Presence is not about silencing the mind. It's about holding space for all of it with compassion. Buddhism teaches that presence is the ultimate liberation, because in presence there is no future to fear, no past to fix, no self to improve, only life as it is, breathing, pulsing, enough. So tonight, let that be enough. Let yourself be held not by achievement, but by awareness. Let sleep come as a reward, but as a return. And let your soul remember, you are not a machine. You were never meant to be efficient every moment. You were meant to feel, to love, to live, to simply be. Healing happens when you stop trying to be who you think you should be. Every day, the world asks you to become someone, not necessarily someone better, but someone different. Someone more acceptable, someone more successful, someone who fits. So you start shaping yourself around other people's expectations. You polish parts of you they praise. You hide the parts they don't understand. And little by little, without even realizing it, you drift away from yourself. You become a reflection of what you think you should be, instead of a true expression of who you are. And then one day you wake up tired, not just physically, but spiritually, because it takes enormous energy to live a life that's not fully yours. Buddhism teaches us something radically different. The path to peace is not becoming something Moritz, unbecoming, everything you are not. True healing begins the moment you stop trying to fix yourself into someone else's image and start returning to the quiet truth of who you already are. It doesn't happen through effort. It happens through surrender, through letting go of the masks, the roles, the pressure, the false stories you've carried so long they started to feel real. Ask yourself now, softly and without judgment, who have I been trying to become, and who would I be if I stopped trying? Most people are not exhausted because they're doing too much. They're exhausted because they're trying to hold up an identity they were never meant to carry. And that identity often comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. So we perform, we pretend, we perfect. And it works for a while, until we reach that moment, usually in the quiet of night, where we can't escape the hollowness anymore. We can't distract ourselves with busyness, and we realize we've forgotten what it feels like to just be. That's why so many people struggle to sleep, because the masks come off in the dark, the noise fades, and suddenly the self you've been avoiding is all that's left. But this isn't a punishment. This is an invitation. Buddhism invites you to meet yourself not as an idea, not as a version you're trying to improve, but as you are, right here, right now, breathing, imperfect, enough. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be improved. You only need to be seen. Seen by yourself, accepted by yourself, loved by yourself. The parts of you that feel broken are not obstacles. They are doorways. The sadness, the anger, the longing, the confusion. These are not flaws. These are signals from your soul that you've strayed too far from home. They're calling you back not to a better version of you, but to the real one. And the real you does not need approval to exist. It does not need to be impressive to be valuable. It does not need to hustle to be worthy. It just is. Like the ocean, like the moon, like the breath in your lungs. Sacred, uncomplicated, alive. Right now, maybe you feel torn between the person you are and the person you think you should be. Maybe part of you is tired of the performance, but you're afraid of what will happen if you stop. Will people still accept you? Will you still be loved? Will you still belong? But the deeper question is, do you really want to belong to a version of life that doesn't include your full self? The Buddha didn't become enlightened by becoming someone else. He became enlightened by stripping away illusion, and that's your path too. Not to build a perfect self, but to return to what's already whole underneath the noise. Your healing doesn't come from adding more, it comes from subtracting, from releasing the shoulds, from untangling your identity from your performance, from remembering that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you come home to. So tonight, take a moment to pause, not to analyze, not to strategize, but to breathe, to notice what it feels like to be here, to be human, to be you, without the filter, without the agenda, without the constant need to become something more. You are not a project. You are not a brand. You are a soul. And that soul has been waiting not for you to improve, but for you to listen. Buddhism teaches the power of mindfulness not just as a practice, but as a return. Every breath is a chance to remember. Every moment is a doorway back to now. You don't need to carry your identity into sleep. You don't need to figure out your entire life tonight. You only need to return to presence, to let go of the story, to feel the softness of the sheets, to hear the hum of your breath, to allow your heart to whisper, "This is enough." Because you are enough, not the future version of you, not the polished one, not the one who gets everything right. The you that exists right now in this moment of stillness, with all your questions, with all your humanness, with all your unfinishedness, that's the you that is worthy of rest. Let go of who you think you should be. Let go of the pressure to evolve constantly. Growth will happen naturally when you stop forcing it. You don't need to chase healing. You only need to create space for it. And that space begins with stillness, with breath, with the radical decision to stop performing and start being. Say to yourself now, gently, "I release who I think I should be. I return to who I already am. I do not need to prove my worth. I am allowed to rest as myself. Let those words echo through your body. Let them dismantle the tension. Let them soften the parts of you that have been bracing for judgment. Let them be the beginning of your return. Because healing doesn't require you to become someone new. It asks you to finally stop pretending and to be someone true. And that someone is you, exactly as you are, right here, right now, home. Peace is not something you earn, it's something you stop blocking. There's a quiet lie the modern world teaches us, one that has shaped the way we think about rest, about worth, and about peace itself. It whispers to us every day through our screens, through our schools, through our relationships. It says, you must earn your peace. You must check off enough boxes. You must do enough good things. You must become better, more productive, more enlightened, more worthy, and then, if there's time left, and if you've done everything right, you may finally be allowed to feel calm. This belief is so subtle, so deeply woven into our culture, that most people don't even question it. They live their whole lives working for a moment of stillness. They treat rest like a prize, not a birthright. And in doing so, they miss the very thing they're chasing. But Buddhism teaches a different truth, a liberating truth. Peace is not something you earn, it's something you stop blocking. It is not a reward for being perfect. It is not the outcome of spiritual effort. It is your natural state. What remains when all the noise, striving, resistance, and fear dissolve. It is not far away. It is not something you find only on mountaintops or inside temples. It is here, beneath the layers of thought, beneath the pressure to be more, beneath the armor you've carried for years. Peace is not the end of the journey, it is the ground you were standing on all along, but forgot to feel. Your soul is not waiting for you to improve. It is waiting for you to stop running, to stop pretending, to stop believing that stillness must be earned. Because the truth is, everything you've been doing to try and find peace, every book, every meditation, every habit, it's not bad. But the moment you attach worthiness to it, the moment you say, I'll finally feel okay once I do this, you've already blocked the very thing you're looking for. Because peace is not on the other side of action. It's on the other side of resistance. And resistance does not dissolve through effort, it dissolves through surrender. Right now, maybe your mind is busy. Maybe your heart is heavy. Maybe you're lying in bed wondering why it's so hard to just relax. Maybe you've done everything right. You turned the lights down. You followed your routine. You played the music, took the deep breaths, tried the techniques, and yet you still don't feel calm. You still feel that tightness in your chest, that lingering sense that something is wrong, that you're behind, that you're not enough. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the belief that you're supposed to do something in order to deserve peace? What if peace isn't something you achieve, but something you remember? Buddhism doesn't offer you new tools to fix yourself. It offers you the mirror to see yourself clearly. And when you look into that mirror without judgment, you begin to understand that you are not broken. You are not failing. You are not behind. You are simply human. And humans suffer not because they're bad, but because they forget who they are. They forget that awareness itself, the simple act of being present, is already healing, already sacred, already enough. Try this tonight. Instead of trying to be peaceful, let go of the idea that you need peace. Let go of the effort, let go of the outcome, let go of the pressure to feel a certain way, and just be here. Let your body be heavy, let your thoughts be messy, let your heart be whatever it is. Don't fix, don't change, don't chase, just witness. Just breathe, just allow. You will begin to notice something astonishing, that the peace you were trying to find in perfection was already waiting for you in permission. permission to stop, permission to be messy, permission to not get it right. That kind of peace doesn't shout, it doesn't perform. It arises slowly, quietly, like the sun rising behind mountains, and suddenly everything feels softer. The noise fades not because you silenced it, but because you stopped feeding it. The tension eases not because you forced it, but because you stopped resisting it. Peace in this light is not a state you enter. It is the space you return to when you stop trying to be somewhere else, when you stop trying to improve this moment, when you stop rejecting yourself. It's not a feeling, it's a foundation. It's the part of you that's never been touched by pain, by worry, by self-doubt. It's always been there. The problem isn't that peace is missing. The problem is that you're looking for it in all the places it doesn't live. It doesn't live in doing more. It doesn't live in becoming more. It lives in the breath. It lives in the pause. It lives in the stillness between thoughts. You don't need to earn this. You were born into it. Right now, as you listen, as you breathe, as you rest, allow that truth to settle in your bones. You don't need to finish anything first. You don't need to heal perfectly. You don't need to erase your mistakes. You don't need to think only positive thoughts. You don't even need to understand everything. You just need to stop pushing. That's it. That's all. Stop, let go, and be. Let your shoulders drop. Let your eyes soften. Let your body feel supported by the ground beneath it. You don't have to hold everything anymore. It's okay to lay it down. Your worries, your image, your need to appear okay, let it all rest. And feel how your breath deepens when you stop pretending, when you stop achieving, when you stop performing peace and start allowing it. Say these words gently to yourself. Peace is not something I need to find. It's already here. I stop resisting what is. I stop earning what is already mine. I am allowed to rest without needing to deserve it. Let that mantra become your rhythm. Let it pulse through you like a quiet heartbeat. Let it sink deeper than your thoughts. Because peace doesn't live in the mind. It lives beneath it. It lives in the body. It lives in the silence underneath words. It lives in the pauses you used to rush past. There is no perfect version of you waiting at the end of this journey. There is only the you that exists right now, fully human, fully present, and fully enough. Peace does not require you to change who you are. It requires you to stop running from it. So, stop. Not forever. Just for tonight. Stop chasing. Stop resisting. Stop performing. And in that stillness, let yourself feel what's been waiting to rise. Let yourself feel home. Your inner world is not meant to be controlled, it is meant to be understood. Most of us grow up with the belief that our mind is something to control, that our emotions must be managed, tamed, shut down, or fixed. From an early age, we're taught that sadness is weakness, anger is dangerous, anxiety is a flaw, and overthinking is something to silence at all costs. And so we begin a lifelong struggle with our inner world. We push down what hurts. We pretend we're fine. We fight with our thoughts. We label our feelings as wrong. We search for techniques, routines, habits, anything that might help us master the mind like it's an enemy to be defeated. But the truth is, your mind was never your enemy. Your emotions were never mistakes. And the chaos you feel inside sometimes, it is not evidence of failure, it's evidence of aliveness. Buddhism doesn't teach you to conquer your inner world. It teaches you to understand it, to sit with it, to listen to it like you would listen to an old friend who has something important to say. Because the goal is not control, it's compassion. When you try to control the mind, you create more resistance. You push thoughts away, and they grow stronger. You fight feelings, and they scream louder. But when you stop trying to control everything inside you, something powerful happens. the mind softens, the heart opens, the body relaxes. And healing becomes possible not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed it. Imagine your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. Some are light and fluffy, some are dark and stormy. But the sky never tries to hold on to any of them. It just lets them move. In the same way, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the sky, not the storm. And the moment you realize that, the moment you stop attaching your identity to every cloud that passes, you find freedom. Freedom doesn't come from controlling the mind, it comes from seeing the mind clearly, without judgment. When you notice a painful thought, instead of reacting, you breathe. You say, "Ah, there's that story again." When you feel overwhelmed, instead of collapsing, you say, "This is what anxiety feels like in my body." You don't run, you don't resist. You become present. And in that presence, the mind loses its grip. The emotion loses its urgency. You return to the moment, not the fantasy in your head, not the fear in your future, but the breath, the ground, the truth of now. This shift from control to understanding is at the heart of Buddhist practice. It's why meditation isn't about emptying your mind, it's about becoming intimate with it. It's why mindfulness isn't about being calm all the time, it's about being real with what's here. Because when you stop trying to force inner peace, you discover it was always available. Not as perfection, but as presence. Right now, maybe your inner world feels messy. Maybe you've been battling thoughts all day. Maybe your emotions are loud and unpredictable. Maybe part of you feels ashamed for not having it together. But that's okay. There is no shame in being human. There is no shame in feeling deeply. In fact, the more you allow yourself to witness what's really going on inside you, the more healing becomes not a task, but a natural unfolding. Picture a garden. You don't yell at the weeds to make them disappear. You don't shame the flowers for not blooming fast enough. You water the soil. You create conditions for growth. And then, slowly, transformation begins. Your inner world is that garden. It doesn't need to be controlled. It needs to be tended to with patience, with care, with loving awareness. And tending doesn't mean fixing. It means showing up every day. No matter what arises, whether joy or sorrow, whether clarity or confusion, whether peace or restlessness, you meet yourself as you are, not as who you think you should be. So how do you begin? You begin with awareness. When a painful thought arises, pause, name it, breathe. Say, "This is a thought, not the truth." When an emotion rises, welcome it like a guest. Say, "I see you, you're allowed to be here." And when discomfort grows, instead of reacting, become curious. Ask, "What is this trying to teach me? What does this part of me need?" And when nothing makes sense, when the noise is too loud, when the discomfort is too much, just breathe. Just place a hand over your heart and whisper, "I'm still here. I haven't abandoned myself. I don't need to be perfect. I only need to be present." You don't need to change your mind. You don't need to eliminate all anxiety. You don't need to never feel anger again. These are not signs of failure, they are signs of being alive. And when you stop judging them, you stop suffering from them. You realize that the mind is not meant to be silent, it's meant to be observed. The emotions are not meant to be suppressed, they're meant to be listened to. The inner world is not a battlefield, it's a sacred place of discovery. And the more you return to it, not to fix, but to understand, the more peace becomes your natural resting place. Not because you forced it, not because you earned it, but because you finally allowed it. Tonight, let this be your practice. Don't try to silence your mind. Don't try to feel peaceful. Don't try to sleep perfectly. Just be with what's here. Breathe. Witness. allow, and trust that healing doesn't happen in control, it happens in connection. Say softly to yourself, I don't need to control my inner world. I only need to understand it. My emotions are not problems. My thoughts are not my identity. I am allowed to be with myself exactly as I am. Let these words guide you not into a perfect mind, but into a compassionate one, not into silence, but into stillness, not into control, but into freedom. Because the truth is, you were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be whole. And wholeness begins with understanding. After everything you've heard, after every breath you've taken, and every word you've absorbed in silence, there is something you must remember. Above all else, you were never broken. Not for being tired, not for feeling lost, not for overthinking or overfeeling, not for needing rest when the world told you to keep going. You were never weak for needing peace. You were simply human in a world that forgot how to be still, a soul surrounded by noise, a heart that needed time to be heard again. These lessons were not given to fix you. They were meant to bring you home. Home to your breath, home to your stillness, home to the simple truth that you are already enough. That peace was never something to chase, it was something to allow. That happiness was never buried in your future, it was always hiding in the present moment, waiting for your return. Let this night be the beginning of that return, not the end of your pain, but the end of your resistance to it, not the absence of thoughts, but the end of believing every one of them. Not the disappearance of noise, but the discovery that you no longer have to live inside it. You don't need to be anything more than you are right now. Let your body feel that. Let your soul receive that. Let your mind finally rest in that. You are not behind. You are not too much. You are not incomplete. You are breath. You are presence. You are peace remembered. And tonight, in this moment, that is all you ever needed to be. Sleep well and return to yourself gently. You are safe here. You are free now. You are home.